Yeah, LTL true crime, we going deep in the dark. Yeah, peeling back the layers, expose the hidden mark. From the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie, getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. LTL true crime, unraveling the web of evil. No stone left unturned, we dive into the pond. Yeah, we digging up the dirt, bringing justice to the crime. LTL true crime, unveiling dark realities every time. Yeah, LTL true crime, we going deep in the dark. Peeling back the layers, expose the hidden mark. From the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie, getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. LTL true crime, I go. People can live in the shine, but then I'm not talking about it, it's so. People go put in the world, no can to it, you lie. No choice alone, we got it done. Yeah, we did that, yeah, die. Better than running the boats. Yeah, I bring down true crime. You go with dark realities every time. This is yeah, I bring down true crime. You go with dark realities every time. Yeah, LTL true crime. We going deep in the dark. Yeah, peeling back the layers, expose the hidden mark. From the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie, getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. LTL true crime. We going deep in the dark. Yeah, peeling back the layers, expose the hidden mark. From the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie, getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. LTL true crime, we going deep in the dark. Yeah, peeling back the layers, expose the hidden mark. From the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie, getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi.
Well, here we are again. Here we are again. Violence breaks out in Brockton. Violence breaks out in Brockton. Again, welcome in everybody. Welcome back to LTL True Crime. We're live here on March 5th, 2024. We're in the live show right now. If you're watching this live, you can chat there with the amazing people on YouTube on the right-hand side of the screen. I'd love for you to get into the conversation here. We got a lot to go through. We have a committee meeting an emergency committee meeting that's going to start in about 10 minutes. And let me just catch everybody up to speed. What's going on? Violence has broken out again in Brockton High School. I'm going to pull up that article in a second, but I want to go back to about a week ago at the last committee meeting. And I want to show you the professionalism of Mayor Robert Sullivan, the mayor of Brockton, and how he's handling the situation at Brockton High School. Now, prior to this, a couple of weeks ago, we had 4 committee members out of the 7 that are on the board speak up at a press conference outside of Brockton High School and ask for the National Guard to come in and control the situation. Kids are getting hurt. They're unruly. Teachers are getting hurt. Teachers are scared to go into the school and teach. And Robert Sullivan said, don't worry, we're going to take care of everything. We don't want the National Guard to come in. We're going to police the situation. Maura Healey, the governor of Massachusetts, says, no, the National Guard will not come in. You have these parents that are out on left field that said, oh, no, we can't do that. They're going to come in. They're going to wear uniforms. It's scary. They're going to scare everybody. Not everybody's going to want to go to school. Well, look at the situation in Brockton High. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed since the last committee meeting. All these controls were supposed to be put in place. They're going to fix the situation. But we had the mayor rage quit last week in the meeting. Let's play that and get everybody caught up. If you haven't seen it, very unprofessional. He didn't want to answer the hard questions is what it was. He didn't want to answer the hard questions. He wanted to get out of there, get home, sip his coffee, not take care of what's going on in his city.
Tensions absolutely boiling over at this meeting tonight. There was shouting at the end of the meeting. There was also some cheering inside this school when the superintendent got up to speak. Now, that is Superintendent Mike Thomas, who's been
on. And these people are smoking crack because they're cheering this guy as well. And he goes on to say, because his ego's out, oh, well, I've been in Brockton for 30 years and everything that I've done. Let me just tell you, assistant superintendent in 2013 gets promoted in 2019 to superintendent. Okay. And he said, he can sit up on the podium now and say, oh, well, if I was in control, and granted, he went out on a medical leave just before $14.4 million went missing in the budget. They're supposed to have some audit, some people come in and audit this and figure it out, where the money go. But he goes out and takes a medical leave. Now, listen, I'm not going to get down on his medical status. Not going to do that. But I think the timing is a little weird. Goes out on a medical leave and then comes back and stands up at this committee meeting and says, if I was in charge through all of this, this violence would not be happening in Brockton High. If you went back and watched my last stream, this has been going on for many, many, probably well over 15 years. The control in Brockton High has been out of hand, and it's getting worse. And the sad thing about it is someone's going to end up being hurt here, seriously hurt or killed. These people have no control. They're not doing their job. They're failing you, and they're failing those students in Brockton High. All right, let's play this.
On medical leave since August. That leave coincided with the revelation of a $14 million deficit in the district. He now says he's well enough to come back, and he denies wrongdoing, but the school committee voted to put him on paid leave during an investigation of district finances. Now, the crowd tonight was clearly on his side and says safety would not be an issue if he were in charge. The mayor is vowing transparency in that investigation.
Mike Thomas was here. This stuff at the high school, you know it now.
And why are they cheering this guy like he's like the second coming of Jesus here? He's part of the problem too. This guy can't do his job. He has no control. He's superintendent of schools. Look what's going on. And they voted his ass out to sit on the sidelines because they don't want him involved. And Mayor Sullivan hasn't done anything either. Has done nothing. There's no control. There's no communication. There's no security procedures put in place. And I'm not going to blame that on the new Principal McCaskill. He's new to his job. You have the new police chief, Perez, that's new. I'm not going to blame it on them. They sound like the most competent people there. But it's only going to come down to what this committee and the mayor and the superintendent are going to allow to let them do, and the governor, allow to let them do to fix this and clean this up. Because this is out of control now.
Not a chance.
I was not made aware of a fiscal 23 deficit until the day of August 8th. And that's
You're a liar. He knew about this. He knew about this almost a year and a half, probably almost 2 years up until when this happened. There was a whistleblower that came out and told him, look, we're not going to make the budget. We have missing money here. He knew about it. And he rage quit the other night and wanted to run out of there because he didn't want to answer the hard questions because he knows he's lost control. And this is telling you this is control right now. This is control. This is someone that's in power that has a control of a situation like Brockton right now. This is what you display, control. Let's rewind this.
I was not made aware of a fiscal 23 deficit until the date of August 8th. And that's a fact. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, run out of there.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All in favor?
See you later.
All opposed? Have a good night.
Now, what I want you all to do, there's a crawl at the bottom of the screen there. And I want you all, if you have Twitter, I want you to tweet at the mayor in Brockton, Robert Sullivan. His Twitter link is his Twitter handle's down there. Tweet at him and ask him what he's going to do to fix the situation at Brockton High. Because I tweet at him at least once or twice a day. He don't answer me. But maybe he'll answer some of you. And if any of you here in Brockton are watching this broadcast, you need to go down there and voice your concerns, because this is out of hand. I'm so mad.
So the meeting ending abruptly there as the mayor was getting some pushback on that investigation from the crowd. In terms of safety in the district, a lot of ideas here tonight from the community, but no decisions made here. We're live in Brockton tonight. John Atwater, WC.
Okay, so now we fast forward a week. And guess what happens? Oh, Monday. Let me see. Fight at Brockton High School on Monday, injured staff members. So nothing got fixed over there. Nothing got fixed. No situation has changed. It's gotten worse because now you have another teacher that's hurt. Also, there's other articles articles that have been popping up. Check this out. From the New York Post. Students at America's most violent high schools are organizing fight clubs while teachers look the other way. Fight clubs in Brockton High. Fight clubs in Brockton High. Students at one of America's most violent high schools were begged for the National Guard to come help rein in the campus chaos as organized fight clubs, the Post has learned. Meanwhile, overwhelmed teachers at Brockton High School, 25 miles south of Boston, are turning a blind eye to the violence and fear. Out of for their own safety, and multiple staffers are brutally beaten while trying to stop fights. Out of boredom, the kids are setting up fights between two individuals, and they are setting up locations for them to fight, and everybody's going to watch it, said Jamal Goodling, Brockton, Mass. Activist who's been speaking with parents and students since the Barrage School made headlines earlier in February. Goodling told the Post that those fights are sparking up more violence in the hallways and risking to turn deadly. What are we going to do? We're going to wait until someone dies here, and then we're going to get involved? Is that what's going to happen here? Because no one's doing their job down there. It's complete incompetence. Complete incompetence. I'm so amped about this. I'm so angry. So then we had to come back to this. Tonight, we have the emergency school committee meeting to meet after the latest violent incident at Brockton High School. So we're waiting for that to start. I'm going to pull that up here, and I want to see what the answer is going to be tonight. And believe me, down below, what I all want you to do, I want you to tweet at the mayor, Mayor Sullivan in Brockton, and let him know how you feel about how this situation is being handled. It's out of control and it's unreal. All right, let me go to the chat here. I'm so amped. Ben, no problem. Thanks for being here. What's going on, Amy? Greg, let's fucking go. I love it. Hester in the house. Heather's here. Jackie's here. Rivera's here. Heatherlicious is here. Yeah, Thomas says, at what point that sending your kid to Brockton High could be considered worthy of child endangerment charge? It's crazy. Debbie's here. Rivera says, bring in the National Guard. Catching the live from the UK. Thank you, Vanessa. We're waiting for the school committee meeting to start. You're welcome, Jackie. Thank you for being here. Patrick says, I get nausea when Maura Healey is said. If she said no to the guard, then you know it's the right thing to do. She has the guard busy fluffing pillows for the illegals. I completely agree. Did you see her today? She dropped what was it, $20 million to take to put into veterans programs to get veterans off the streets. I want to know how much money she gave to illegals. Let's see the cost. Let's see the cost here. Let's see how much she's given to illegal migrants that are here versus how much she just gave to veterans. I'm going to guarantee you. I guarantee you the migrants got more money. We already know the answer to that. They just actually kicked out, what was it, in Randolph a couple of weeks ago. They kicked out a youth home there. Actually, I'm sorry, it was a community center, a gymnasium that people could go and get off the streets and be active with their community, play basketball or whatever games they wanted to do there. Okay. What did they do? They put down, I think it was 250 or 350 cots for illegal migrants because they wanted to move them out of Logan Airport. So they go into Randolph, they kick everybody out of the community center, and there was poor kids. There was these kids during the news conference being reporter was asking him, what are you gonna, and he said, I'm not even going to be able to finish my youth sports that I have here. What am I going to do now? So now you're forcing kids out of community center to go out and be on the streets and get in trouble. Real good plan there. And then they say, oh, it's only going to be temporary until May. That's half a year. That's half a year. What are you going to do with these kids? And one of the homeless guys spoke up and he said, look, that community center gave me a place to go throughout the day so I could be active with my community and get off the streets. They've kicked all these people out. It's unbelievable. Again, we're still waiting for the committee meeting to start here. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. I'm fired up tonight, man. I can't take this shit. I'm fired up. I'm enraged all day at work about this. Nothing's going to get done. And I have emails. I have emails coming in from all over the place from people from Brockton. They said, "Thank you so much for what you're doing. We're concerned about our kids going there." And I'm saying, it's not all the kids that go there. It's not all the kids that go there. It's just a percentage of what's going on. Percentages with the violence of the same kids. But there's no discipline. And you think just what you saw from Mayor Sullivan, his action, that he looks like he's in control right now, that he would scream at the community and say, "I heard about the audit back in August," and then rage quits and gets out of there? That's someone that's in control? Give me a break. All right, I'm going to just refresh it and see if they've started. Nothing has started yet. Doesn't surprise me. Yeah, it's poor people in the chat. You know, hopefully we see some answers tonight. It ain't going to happen. I'm telling you. It's going to be more of the same. It's going to be more of the same. It's out of control. That's right, Teresa. It's out of control. Jackie, thank you for tuning in from Canada. Look at this. This is getting up. There's people from Canada coming in and wanting to know about this. And believe me, this is not only happening here in Brockton. It's not only happening in Brockton. It's happening in your neighborhood too. And this is what I talked about the other night when I had Rita Lombardi on. She's running for Canton Select Board. We need people that are going to go in there and do their job, not people that sit there and say, I've been in this city for 30 years and just on my reputation. Well, just on your reputation, it hasn't really gotten you very far, because for the last 15 years that you've been in power, you haven't done anything. You haven't done anything. The violence has gotten worse, and you haven't got anything under control here. Hate people that say, just because I've been here, just because you've been here doesn't mean that you're doing your job correctly. So we'll wait here for the committee meeting to start. It's everywhere, Tracy. It's not only Massachusetts. It's in everybody's community. These people don't care. All they care at the end of the day is that six-figure salary that they're going to get every 2 weeks. They don't care about your kids. And believe me, I think there's a lot of teachers that want to be there. I think there's a lot of teachers that want to teach. But it's unsafe, the environment that they are going into with no security. People are getting hurt. And this is going to end up with someone being dead. And then you get a serious problem. And I don't want it to get to that part. That's why I'm calling all this shit out. I'm going to keep calling it out. Yeah, exactly, Tracy. Money talks. All right, so we're still waiting for the meeting to start. Of course, it's late, like it always is. Never starts on time. Now they moved it up to 6:30. Okay, that made sense. All right. Well, I think that we're going to have to kill down the stream here and pop this puppy back up at 6:30. I apologize. It looks like they just readjusted the time. And I wasn't really planned with anything. Actually, you know what we can do? Let's go back last week and look at the rage quit. The last 20 minutes of that. I'll get you caught up to speed and really quick. Let's go back to last week. Someone said actually watch the committee meeting from last night. Someone emailed me last night. I'm not going to watch a 2-hour meeting, but we'll go back to the previous school committee politics. I want to see the end, where's the most important. Hang on. Do. Policy meeting. I don't care about that. I want the. Let's see. Hang in there for a second. I'm just finding the meeting from last week. Did they take it down? They took it down. You got to be kidding me. They took that down? Mr. Rage quit? Where the hell is it? 6 days ago. Here we go. I want you to see the end of this. and the out of control and the lack of communication. So we'll get caught up here, and then we'll wait for the new meeting to come in. Let me pull this one up. They changed the time on us. Let's get caught up towards the end. Right here. I want to start with John C. Williams.
Good evening, Brockton. Glad I get a chance to speak.
So again, we're doing a little bit of a replay here. It looks like the committee meeting has been moved up to 6:30 p.m. I appreciate y'all coming in. I understand this is a lot of replay, but there might be some new people that are coming into this particular situation that I want to get them caught up. So we'll hang out here for a little while until the meeting starts and go from here.
Tonight. I hear a lot of ideas. There's no policy you can make that can change what's going on. Not one. There's nothing you can institute right now that's going to change it tomorrow. We put in a lot. You did some due diligence, Judy. You went and spoke to some teachers. And you know what they told you? We need champion city mentors. And you tried to explain to them, and they were like, oh, it's John Williams, so they didn't want to hear it, right? I hear you. So
I got to get this guy on the show.
I listened to my brother Jamal speak and say he's willing to go into the school with mentors and men to patrol the hallways and stuff like that. The problem is you guys are only focused on Brockton High School because Brockton High School is the crown jewel that makes you your money. But this problem doesn't start at Brockton High School. You're not going to go into Brockton High School, patrol the hallways, and fix it. Over 10 years ago, I had a meeting with Mike Thomas. And we developed a long-term plan. You heard some people today say it. You heard some of my
I'm going to tell you right now, in my opinion, Mike Thomas is not the answer. Mike Thomas wants to come back. That guy's not the answer. He's not the answer. I don't know why he's this champion in the community down there. I mean, he was part of the problem with the missing money. He went out on leave. He comes back, and then he says, well, if I was in power, this problem would not be happening. Well, when he was just assistant superintendent, back promoted, I believe, in 2012 or 2013, violence was erupting in Brockton High School. Then carries out another 5 years and gets promoted to superintendent in 2019, and things get worse. So I don't know why he's the champion. I think a lot of it is that Thomas and Sullivan, the mayor, they don't get along. They butt heads really a lot. And I think what's happening is people are standing behind Thomas right now because they hate Sullivan.
Colleagues, some teachers come up and say Brockton High School was a model school. We were leading the way, restorative justice, everything. 10 years ago, we had a meeting. And we put together a program that spanned not only the high school, because in 2016, we had these same issues. People filming fights, and it got real bad. And I got a call. And I got asked to bring in community members. Some that are here today. I see William Wells. I see my wife, Linda Texera Reyes, that just spoke. I see Roro Wilson right there. We had people come into the school and build relationships from kindergarten to 12th grade. The worst students in your school right now, we've had since the 3rd grade.
Makes sense.
But for some reason, political agendas in Brockton take precedence over children. You all voted to get rid of this program that supported not only the students, we supported teachers, we supported administration. Ask how many conversations I've had with Sharon Wolders, Michelle Connors, Mike Thomas, Mr. G back there. All of these are teachers that y'all claim to support. We actually went in there and did it. And we started doing it for nothing. For nothing. We went in there because we care. I was that student. He was that student. Ro was that student. We're from here. We're from Brockton. We came back into the schools to help out the kids so they don't go down the same path we went. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
We need to get real. Get rid of your political agendas. Get rid of your personal vendettas, whatever they are, and get people that have done the work on a consistent basis for the last 10 years. We're doing the work. I don't get paid a dime.
I hope he's there tonight. I hope John C. Williams is there tonight.
And I go work with those kids. I still see kids in the streets, in the supermarket. What's up with school? You walked with me during the campaigning. You saw how kids react to me. These are kids in the street. And I can talk, hey, what's up with your grades? Come here, sit down. We need kids to see people that look like their uncle.
Yep, he's right.
That look like their older brother. That look like their fathers. Because we have missing fathers. So when we have people in the school that can adjust and adapt to these kids and talk to them and say, listen, hey, come here. You know what you need to do? You need to sit down real quick, shut up and listen to this teacher. Because she's going to give you the key to success.
No, this is the timer at the meeting.
You can ask any teacher in here that's
the time ran out, but he's still going to continue to talk.
They'll tell you what it is. Do your due diligence and stop playing around. We've already lost a generation of kids with all these games. You're talking about funding? You're asking for funding? You just had $80 million that you didn't put in your boy Chris Carney's pocket, that y'all didn't went and spent on buses, that y'all started a transportation department that's over budget every year because you weren't smart enough to see this is a transportation department. We're going to have to maintain these buses.
Yep.
We're going to have to sign contracts
with
drivers, and that driver contract was horrible. You did a terrible job. All of you need to be taught. I know it's an. I know.
See,
you don't.
this is the committee. This is the committee members, the board members that don't want to go along with bringing in the National Guard. There's three of them that sit on this committee that don't want anything to do with it, and she's telling him that's enough. You know why? Because they're hearing the truth. John C. Williams is speaking the truth, and they don't want to hear it. It's right in front of them. They don't want to hear it. So I'm going to go back a little bit. And again, if you're just coming in live, we're waiting. The committee meeting has been bumped up to 6:30. So we've gone back to the previous week, just doing a little review there for everybody. And then once the new committee meeting starts up, we will watch that. And I hope John C. Williams is there tonight. I hope he's there tonight. Let's back up. I want you to hear in the background, the voice. That's enough. That's enough. They don't want to hear him. That's the truth.
Hey, come here. You know what you need to do? You need to sit down real quick, shut up and listen to this teacher because she's going to give you the key to success. And if you think that ain't what it is, you can ask any teacher in here that's had an experience with our program. They'll tell you what it is. Do your due diligence and stop playing around. We've already lost a generation of kids with all these games. You're talking about funding? You're asking for funding? You just had $80 million that you didn't put in your boy Chris Carney's pocket.
And he's pointing at the mayor. That's who he's pointing at, saying, you didn't put in your boy's pocket. That's what he's calling out. He's calling out the mayor.
I didn't went and spent on buses. That y'all started a transportation department that's over budget every year because you weren't smart enough to see this is a transportation department. We're going to have to maintain these buses. We're going to have to sign contracts with drivers. And that driver contract was horrible.
So there's a committee meeting. Please stop him, please. And now you're going to hear her in the background. Oh, stop.
You did a terrible job. All of you need to be taught. I know it's an. I know you don't want to hear anymore. Yeah, do your job. Do your job. Yeah.
We love you, man. Spitting facts. Spitting facts. That's right. They
The
can't
quorum,
handle
please. We have another person, please. Michelle Henson, please.
I will remain within my 3 minutes, but I'm going to be really direct to some of you. You heard that we had mentors, and you thought that, well, we have formerly incarcerated people, and they're not safe to have around our children. But you wanted to bring soldiers who don't know our kids, who don't give a damn about our
Now
kids.
she's spitting back at the four committee the four committee members that wanted to bring in the National Guard. Now, look, I guess I can understand from a certain point of what she's getting at, but you got to look at the totality of the situation. It's completely out of hand. Even the people, there is a live meeting today. We're waiting, Patrick. It actually was supposed to start at 5:30. It got bumped up to 6:30. So we're just doing a little review until that meeting. So I can kind of understand where she's coming from, but you've had those community members there, and they've tried and it hasn't worked. And their security is terrible. They have no security there. That's why people are getting beat up. That's why people are hurting. All right, let's keep playing through this.
And the first child that showed out and touched up was going to get hurt, and you didn't think about that. And I did reach out to the four of you because I was very disappointed that it was you who wanted to bring this down on Black and brown children. Now, if it was a stunt to get the attention, okay, I guess I can get that now. We have everybody's attention.
I'm tired of when a situation gets out of control that everybody has to stop blaming race. This has nothing to do with race. It has to do with unruly students and people at the top, the leadership people that are in those positions not doing their job. And when things like this go down and people can't come up with any more excuses, what do? They throw race at it. They throw this and that at it. It's a bunch of garbage. Let's put all that aside. I don't care if you're black, white, Asian, green, purple, whatever. The bottom line is this. They need leadership in Brockton High School because clearly there's no communication. There's no leadership there. And they need to get the students under control. That's it. It's simple. We need to protect these children. We need to protect the teachers that want to teach. And those teachers are from all walks of life. Black, brown, white, whatever it be. They want to teach. They love these students, but they need to be protected. And they need to get this under control quickly, or someone's going to end up dead. Because it's getting to that point now. It's almost beyond that. Let's start looking through, let's start looking past all the politics in these situations and using all the little things that we have to throw in here to make excuses. There's no more excuses. There's no more time for excuses. We need action, and we need action now. And again, this is not only happening in Brockton. It's not only happening in Brockton, Massachusetts. It's happening in your community as well, too. And you have the right to go to these meetings and stand up and speak. If you feel like your kid is not being protected at the schools that they go to, and the leadership at the top and not doing their job correctly, it's your job to speak up because it will not change. And the way that you speak up is get involved in your local politics and go out and vote these sons of bitches out because they don't care. Because at the bottom of the end of the day, they're going to make a million fucking excuses because every 2 weeks they want this. They want that in the bank. And they're just going to keep passing the buck and passing the buck and passing the buck. And I'm going to tell you right now, you think there's going to be any headway at 6:30 when this committee meeting starts tonight and they discuss what happened on Monday? Another faculty member getting hurt? You think there's going to be any headway there? This is going to be all over the place, and you're going to see it again. And I guarantee you, the mayor's going to rage quit again and walk out of there. And that's not being a professional. That's not being a leader. All right, let's keep playing through this.
Now, and I can give you that. And what I didn't say at the beginning is I'm going to give you the love of everybody in this room. I have no hate, but some of you have pissed me the hell off. Okay? You threw away money. You lost money. You don't want to take accountability. And as much as I love you, you need to take accountability. This is you. This is all you. And the rest of you who have been here long enough, Mrs. Sullivan, you have been here. Mrs. Ehlers, you are new, but as far as everybody on this council, you are the one with some financial background. I looked at your LinkedIn. Okay, so I expect more from you than the rest. So, and now that apparently you're still vice chair, time for us to have a conversation. I told you you would meet the dragon, and you're about to. Thank you.
I kind of like the fact that this young lady blamed everybody. She knows what's going on. There's no leadership. She blamed all sides. And I hope we're going to get to see Chief Perez, the new chief of police in Brockton. Seems like she has a great plan in place. I love Principal McCatskill. He sounds like a smart guy. He's educated. I think he'll get shit done. He'll fix things there, but you got to allow these people to do their job. Stop holding them back. Stop holding them back. I call everybody young lady. That's just being respectful. I call everybody young lady.
So that concludes hearing of visitors. Agenda item 5 is VHS safety update from Brockton Police Chief Brenda Perez. Chief.
Yeah, I call everybody kiddo. Now, Perez, she's got a plan. She's got a vision. Watch how well she speaks. Watch how well she could implement this plan and get things fixed. But it's all going to come down to who's going to allow her to do her job. And she's new. You can't blame her. She's only been, I think, in her position for like a month. You can't blame her. And it's the same thing with Principal McCatskill. You can't blame them. They're new. But they want to help. And they want to get this fixed. All right, let's listen to Chief Perez.
Good evening, school committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today regarding the security of Brockton High. I'm a proud alumni of Brockton High School and the daughter of immigrants and a lifelong resident of Brockton. As the police chief, the safety of our school community is of paramount importance. Over the last few months, my team and I have collaborated closely with the mayor, superintendent of schools, school administrators, school principal McCaskill, school police officers, the district attorney's office, and the city solicitor. We've recognized the many challenges we face and are exploring strategies encompassing prevention and intervention. Tonight, we'll be providing you with a security update on issues we have identified, along with some recommendations.
Listen to the issues that she calls out. Your mouth is going to drop.
For the school district. To gain a better understanding, we wanted to take a look at the frequency of calls for service over the last 2 years, examining both district-wide calls for service and calls specifically for Brockton High School. During the preceding school year, we received approximately 1,100 calls for service for the entire district, with slightly over 80 calls for service for the high school. During this academic year, encompassing the data up until January 31st, the district has had just over 800 calls for service, with approximately 40 calls to the Brockton High School. Calls for service within Brockton High School encompass a broad spectrum, and ranging from alarms to theft to altercations, medical calls, missing persons. Our current trajectory appears consistent with the previous year. Given the recent occurrences on school premises, it's imperative to uphold open communications across all administrative levels with Brockton Public Schools. And we urge staff to utilize either emergency 911 and the police non-emergency number to report any incident requiring our intervention. As a first issue—
Wait till you hear about the key control in this school. The master key control. Your mouth's going to hit the ground, what she discovered.
We wanted to discuss assessment to bolster security measures effectively. It's important that we adopt a proactive approach by conducting comprehensive reviews and assessments at regular intervals, ideally once every 3 years. In looking at the school safety issues, I found the school district's most current security plan is approximately 10 years old. The Mass Chiefs of Police Association, using the guidelines by the
10-year-old security plan. 10-year-old security plan. That is a hit to every single person in power in that room right now. She just leveled them, buried them. 10-year-old security plan. There's been no updates to the security plan in 10 years.
The Partnership Alliance for Safe to Schools offers a comprehensive guide that just came out October of 2023 on how to achieve a greater level of security in schools. As the initial step, it's recommended to assemble a multidisciplinary team consisting of a school district security director as the head, IT specialists, integration experts, administrative personnel, community representatives, fire and law enforcement are part of that community representatives. I would like to pass out a copy to all of you so that you can take a look at what that composition looks like and for your review. One proposed recommendation involves engaging a third-party entity to conduct a comprehensive.
Now, did she sound in control? You know, I mean, clear, concise, planned. Sounds nothing what these committee members have done. And then when you hear Principal Catskill talk, same thing, level-headed, in control, plan, execution. I think you have some people here that really want to get things turned around, but it goes down to, are they going to be allowed to do their job?
Evaluation of the existing security infrastructure. And we're happy to hear Governor Healy's grant award that will allow the district to start with this process. We recommend that the district hire a school security director to oversee all safety and security planning and bring in all the necessary partners to include fire and police. The second issue that we've encountered is classroom security. The security of classrooms within the high school poses a significant concern. Currently, teachers are able to lock their classrooms, but do not have the ability to unlock, leaving unoccupied rooms unsecured, presenting potential risk to the safety of students and staff. Compounding this issue, the circulation of the G submaster keys, some of which are unaccounted for.
Unaccounted master keys. That means that probably some students stole those keys and made copies. That's how they're getting in and around this school. Unaccounted keys. Security keys. If you're just jumping in, we're waiting for the next Brockton School Committee meeting that's going to start here in about 30 minutes. We're doing some review of the previous week. I appreciate everybody being here, and we will play the new school committee live tonight. There has been on Monday another report of a faculty member that has sustained injuries because of a fight. So nothing that they said last week got done. Teachers are still getting hurt, and I'm sure students are still getting hurt. So what is the plan tonight, Mayor Robert Sullivan? What is the plan tonight, school committee? Let's keep playing.
Further compromising school security. Additionally, there have been instances of key distribution to unauthorized individuals, contrary to established protocols.
Yeah.
As a short-term measure, we recommend the district establish a policy and protocol to instruct teachers to lock all classrooms when unoccupied, minimizing security vulnerabilities. Second, giving floor teachers the responsibility of unlocking classrooms and implementing regular checks to ensure all classrooms are securely locked at all times. As a long-term solution, we recommend the district explore comprehensive security options such as rekeying rooms or transitioning to a fob or a card access system. Implement stringent procedures for key issuance, key turn-in, and management to prevent unauthorized access. Empower key personnel to allocate access based on their job responsibilities, fostering accountability and bolstering security measures. The third issue we've encountered is access control. There's several risks that have been identified concerning access control within the high school. The absence of a vestibule poses a significant security threat, allowing unauthorized individuals to gain entry. Individuals already inside the building accessing entry points introduce significant vulnerabilities. Access control officers lack adequate training and visibility. Their position in relation to metal detectors, a lack of clarity regarding their roles and responsibilities. Pictures on IDs are not current.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that, Ben, because when I started to get back reading a little bit more about this, I forgot about the 20 million as well. So yeah, you're right. $34 million of missing money. $34 million of missing money. Good point.
Leading to inaccuracies or inability in identification. Absence of alarm systems on doors exasperates the risk of breaches going unnoticed. Over-reliance on reactive measures leaves gaps in proactive threat detection and response. Existing cameras are primarily utilized in a reactionary manner rather than active monitoring. To address these concerns, we recommend the district implement comprehensive training programs for access control officers to enhance their visibility, ensure clear understanding of responsibilities, and ensure active monitoring of metal detectors. Establish a protocol for annual ID picture updates for students, staff, and teachers to maintain accurate identification records. Introduce a pre-processing center or vestibule to prevent unauthorized entry for all. Establish a centralized command center staffed by security personnel to monitor all entrances in real time and deploy the limited resources accordingly, therefore enhancing physical security, operational efficiency, and situational awareness. The fourth issue is personnel training. Inadequate training of personnel has been identified as an issue to address. For this, we recommend that the district perform a thorough review and refine the roles and responsibilities for access officers, security and safety officers, and floor teachers in an effort to boost effectively and clarity in their duties. Enforce stringent vetting procedures alongside comprehensive training protocols for all security personnel. This measure ensures that they are professionally trained to handle their responsibilities. Assess and optimize the deployment strategy of all security personnel to ensure maximum coverage and efficiency across all areas of concern. Brockton Police and Brockton School Police are here to assist and work with the school district, the school committee, safety subcommittee, and school security director in any way necessary to ensure the safety of students, teachers, and staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. That's coming in control. It's got a plan. Members of the committee,
Please
any
let
other
her
questions
execute
for
it.
Perez at this time, please. Ms. Azak, please.
I'll start off. Thank you, Chief Perez. Thank you for the presentation. So a lot of the items that you touched base on, we have been asking for those. More training, things like that. Some stuff I think, should be discussed in executive session as to how we do things. It is safety, and we really don't want to be putting everything out there as to what we're going to be doing as far as doors, keys, things like that. So I believe our attorneys here, I believe that does fall under our executive session. So I wasn't aware there was meetings happening as far as, we do have a safety, traffic, and transportation subcommittee.
I wasn't aware. That is a communication problem. This is why nothing can function there. There is clear communication problems here. This is why nothing is being fixed. Nothing is going to get done. These people don't know how to communicate.
This is the first I've heard of meetings happening within the city, I'm glad that they were happening. It's just the committee was not aware. I know I wasn't aware. I'm not sure about other members. So
Yeah.
we do have a subcommittee, and our subcommittee should have known what's going on, and we could have worked as a committee to implement some of these ideas and some steps that you're recommending. I would recommend to just probably discuss. I have a few questions, but I'd rather do them in executive session because it is safety and security. And it's not something we want to put on camera. So if our attorney could we can schedule something.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much for the presentation. I'm glad that there was meetings. It's just some of us weren't aware of them. But thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Azak. Any other questions for the chief at this time? Ms. Rodriguez, please.
I said I wasn't going to ask any questions, but when you look at the Director of Safety and Security, that's already in our policy that position exists. I requested that 2 years ago. Went on deaf ears. But most of this is during our subcommittee meetings that we've discussed. This was already brought to the forefront. And I thank you for your.
I reached out to every single one of these committee members when I started covering this, almost 2.5 weeks ago. Do you know how many of them got back to me to talk about the situation? Do you know how many people got back to me? Put it in the chat. How many people do you think of those committee members wrote me back? How many people in here think that what am I trying to say here? How many of those committee members do you think got back to me? That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, you're right, Ben. 0. No one got back to me. All I've heard from is concerned parents, concerned citizens in that city saying that I'm doing a great job calling this out, that I'm doing a great job on the reporting on this, letting people know, not just only here in Massachusetts, but like I said, this is happening in your community too. All right, you got about another 20 minutes or so until the next meeting starts, the live meeting tonight. We're just playing a little review of what's going on. I'm probably going to speed this up because I want you to hear when Mayor Sullivan brings in the city attorney to answer some questions about the current superintendent that's out on a medical leave that wants to come back, Mike Thomas. This gets very interesting and fiery here. So we'll play this out right up into the current meeting. Thank you all for being here and caring about this. I'm glad that you're all here. All right, let's go.
Have a good night. I am going to read agenda item 6, but then I'm going to have an attorney, Sarah Spotterfoot, is here tonight, and we have to get a receipt. I'm going to read number 6 in the record. Executive session, which is Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2,
the money in their pockets. That's
to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Superintendent, CFO, Deputy CFO.
Kick that can.
Second matter, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than.
Super easy. Another faculty member got hurt. Another faculty member on Monday got hurt. Ended up in the hospital. It's out of control. This meeting was 6 days ago. All these plans that were supposed to be put in place, nothing worked. Nothing happened.
And professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. Michael Thomas. Attorney Spotterfoot, please.
Yes, so tonight we have 2 executive session matters, one of which, the second one, the purpose 1 matter, Superintendent Thomas has exercised his right to have that in open session. This first matter, however, is one that would be in executive session. So we would be adjourning to executive session outside of this room for the first.
So they're going to adjourn to go into a room to vote to keep Mike Thomas on the sidelines, which essentially they're going to do here anyway, right out open in front of them. Makes a lot of sense.
Matter, but then returning to open session for the second matter concerning Superintendent Thomas.
Any questions on that?
You're saying right there.
Then, like we have to do for executive sessions in the past, I need to entertain a motion at this time to go into executive session, but we will be coming back.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Crowd knows
Ms.
what's going
Azak,
on.
followed by Ms. Ayers. All in favor? All in favor, kindly raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
All opposed, raise your hand.
Yep.
I will need to read the roll now. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ayers?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well, but we will be coming back. BCA, please don't shut off. We will be coming back, Mike.
So they go in and vote him out, and then they come back in and essentially tell him that he's going to be voted out. So they could have just done that right there.
We're coming back into session at this time. BCA, are we on? Thanks, Mike. At this time, we are back in a formal session. Attorney Spotterford, please.
Okay, thank you. We're here tonight under Purpose 1 to discuss Superintendent Thomas. The reason that we called this meeting tonight, it wasn't a planned action of the committee, but Superintendent Thomas had notified the committee through counsel that he's well enough to return to work. He did so about a week and a half ago. He stated he was well enough to return to work on the 21st, which was last Wednesday. He previously had informed the committee that he required an extended medical leave, which the committee had granted. It became effective the last week of August, and he's been on extended medical leave. He had also previously notified the committee that he intended to retire on March 3rd. He notified council, the committee through council, again last week, that he was rescinding his retirement notice and was well enough to return to work. The committee had to meet to talk through.
I don't know why they're cheering this guy, because then he's going to get up there and go, you know how it's been. I've been here for 30 years. You know that if I was still in power, then none of this stuff would be going on. You're wrong, Mike. You're wrong, because it's been going on since you've been in assistant superintendent and then finally superintendent in 2019. Nothing has gotten better. I don't know why this community is cheering you. You know why they're cheering you? Because you walk around and you go, I've been in this community for 30 years. And you hear them, 30 years. I've been here. Everybody knows Mike Thomas. Big deal. Do your job.
The quorum, please.
The committee had to meet to talk through Superintendent Thomas's return to work. So tonight, the committee needs to take action if the desire is to have Superintendent Thomas remain out of work. Otherwise, Superintendent Thomas would return to work. If the desire is to have Superintendent Thomas remain out of work, I'm advising the committee to place him on paid administrative leave effective February 21st. So he wouldn't have used his sick time for that period of time since he was well enough to return to work. This is to preserve the integrity of the ongoing audit and investigation. It's not a disciplinary move. It's not contemplating discipline at this time, as we don't have the results of the audit or the city investigation to rely upon. So that is my advice, that and it's consistent with how the district and the city and every public employer handles employees who have any allegations against them, to both protect the employee and protect the integrity of the investigation. So that would be my advice, that the committee placed Superintendent Thomas on paid administrative leave effective February 21st. Happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Ayers, please.
Motion to approve Superintendent Thomas to go out on paid administrative leave effective February 21st. We can't hear.
Second.
It's a form of a motion.
Motion to approve Superintendent Thomas to go out on paid administrative leave effective February 21st.
Motion was made by Mrs. Ayers. It was properly seconded by Mrs. Sullivan. All in favor of that motion, kindly raise your hand.
Nay. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Now,
Are you shitting me right now?
that's a committee. That's a board member. That's someone on the committee that's speaking like that right now. No, we haven't lost me. We're waiting for the next meeting to happen. They had it scheduled at 5:30. It got bumped up to 6:30. So I'm waiting for the new one to play. I wasn't going to shut the stream off and come back. So we're doing a repeat of last week for people that might not know. That's why we're doing this. and I got to wait. You know, they bumped the time up. So I'm not going to shut a stream down and restart a new one. So we'll hang out. We'll get some review, get everybody caught up. And then we're going to go into the new emergency committee meeting at 6:30. They do policy at 6:30, which is going to be fantastic to watch that. And then the regular school committee at 7 p.m. where things are going to get really heated up there. All right, let's play through.
Motherfucker.
That's pretty good. Motherfucker.
It was made by Mrs. Ehlers. It was properly seconded by Mrs. Sullivan. All in favor of that motion, kindly raise your hand.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Are you shitting me right now? Motherfucker.
We have to do decorum, please. It technically doesn't have to be because no one's on Zoom. It technically doesn't have to, but I'll honor that. There's a motion made. It was properly seconded. I will do a roll call vote on this matter. Mrs. Sullivan. Mrs. Ehlers.
Yes.
Mr. Gomes.
Yes.
Ms. Oliver.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Azak.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So that does pass. However, Superintendent Thomas is.
Oh, this we're going to get really interesting. And this guy is just as fault as everybody else. And he's going to stand up there and you're going to hear him. I've been in this community for 30 years. Well, you haven't done shit, Mike Thomas. And you shouldn't be there either.
Here,
you're just responsible
one
to everybody
question.
else.
What is the scope of discussion before us tonight?
Sure. So Superintendent Thomas, under open meeting law, has the right to respond to talk for himself on the deliberations before the committee. So that would just be limited, since the committee's not taking any disciplinary action tonight. That would just be limited to the vote of to put him on paid administrative leave.
Thank you. Superintendent Thomas, please.
I don't know why this guy's being quoted as a hero. You know why? Well, because he's been in the community for 30 years. This guy's a joke, too. Another joke. Another kick the can down the road politician.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That community is so brainwashed.
Thank you.
Superintendent has the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
The only one that can help us.
Committee, I understand. I want to say nice to see you all. I understand, you know, what you had to do. It's unfortunate that you pay me all this money and you have me sitting out when you know I can make a difference. And I also want to say,
pay me all this money.
I also want to say, this is the first time I've spoken in 6 months. I gave this district 30 years of my life. 30 years.
Thanks.
And I put my misguided trust into somebody who I thought was a friend.
Now
who let an embezzlement rumor go out, knowing me, and refused to put it to bed. I would never do that to anybody, especially a friend. Leadership is taking responsibility.
Yeah, and no one here in this meeting has taken responsibility to what has happened in Brockton. This guy needs to be casted out, just like every single one of these people on the committee. They haven't done their jobs.
I went on TV. I took responsibility. Do your audit. Do your personal investigations. Please come look at my credit cards. Look at my bank accounts. Look at whatever you want to look at in Mike Thomas's background.
Nice fancy
because Mike Thomas never took a dime from the Brockton Public Schools. And I was made out to be a common thief. Within 48 hours, I went on medical leave. My phone was shut off. My email was shut off.
And
that was
happens.
Thrown to the side after 30 years of impeccable service.
I'm sure I have someone in here that works in HR that's actually a moderator for me. I'm sure when you go on leave, you get shut down. I'm sure you do. You're out on leave. Why do you need access to any of that email or any of those communications? You're on medical leave.
Service. And that's how I was treated. And I don't have any problem with the school committee. You know who I have a problem with.
It's Sullivan.
Somebody that I thought was a friend and a colleague didn't have the guts to stand up for somebody he knew for a long time. And you know what? I know we bought a transportation company, but I didn't think everyone, you get in every bus and drive it over me. I really did not think that. The community knows me.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting the current administration down. Please, I worked with all of them. I hired most of them. But if
They're
Mike
not
Thomas
doing
was
their
here,
job, Mike.
this stuff at the high school, you know, would not be happening. Not a chance.
He said, if I was there, none of this would be happening. Mike, listen, buddy, I got news for you. Since 2013, since you've been around and been on this committee and been any type of superintendent, assistant, and the superintendent, the violence has continued. And not only continued, it's got worse. So you haven't done your job either, Mike. And I don't know why people are holding this guy up like he's the token king there out in Brockton. Why? Because you've been there. I've been here for 30 years. Big fucking deal. Do your job.
And I want to say another thing.
Man, I'm pissed.
The money's the same where it was before. Transportation, special ed, okay? These are costs we could not absorb. And did I overstaff the schools? You're damn right I did. You're damn right I did. And I'm the only one so far who has taken responsibility for that. The only one. And I ask Mr. Clarkson, I ask, with all due respect, Mr. Plant, you guys have a ton of questions. You have two men on leave, Chris Correa and Aldo Petronio. Last I checked, these guys have had impeccable audits year after year after year. Aldo Petronio was recognized by the state, spoke to the governor, helped Kathy Smith get the SOA through. Now he's in.
Attorney Spotted,
Now he's incompetent.
not here tonight. That's
Okay,
not
I'm just
proper.
saying, you need to have them here answering every question Mr. Plant has. That's transparency. That is transparency.
Yeah, so they can dig you out of the shit.
Now I'm going to go, but let me tell you one thing. I am extremely dismayed that the public safety building is $34.5 million over budget.
Yeah, Ben, there you go, 34 million.
Mayor, why haven't you? You should have stepped aside like I had to step aside. $34.5 million over budget.
Why are they cheering this guy?
And
you're part of the problem, Mike.
I want to say one thing.
Please,
This is my last thing I want to say.
Please.
Other than I love you all. Mayor, I watched you when you went to get the $14.5 million. You said, and it's in the paper, I want to be very blunt, said Mayor Sullivan, the chair of the school committee. This is the city bailing out the school department. The school department is the city. And chapter 70, since 1993 has bailed out the city. If that's the way the city looks at the school department, we got a lot of problems. But you can keep me on paid administrative leave. I think it's a mistake because I'm ready to come back and you need me back. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right, we're going to see the mayor rage quit, and then we're going to get to the new committee meeting. We're waiting for it to start. It hasn't started yet. Welcome in, everybody. What we're doing right now, we're doing a little bit of a review of last week's school, Brockton, Massachusetts School Committee. Obviously, we know that 6 days ago they had this meeting and was supposed to put in measures in place to take control of Brockton High. That did not happen. We had another faculty member that was hurt on Monday and sent to the hospital. They have an emergency meeting tonight. I'm still waiting for that meeting to start. And once that meeting starts, I will go live with that committee meeting. Again, we're waiting for that one to start, so we're just replaying here. and watching the ridiculous people that are in power, in control of these schools, in control of these school committee meetings. There's no communication, there's no leadership. And we have a mayor here, Mayor Robert Sullivan. And again, if you're angry at the way that he's handling the situation in Brockton, tweet at him at Bob Sullivan MA and let him know of your displeasure. And I hope that there's people in here from Brockton that are watching the stream tonight, because you're all being bamboozled by these people. They don't give a shit. Mike Thomas, Mayor Sullivan, and everybody else that's been on that committee has not done their job. The only people that seem like they have any sense of what's going on are the two newest people that have come in, Principal McCatskill and Chief Perez. They're the ones that only sound like they have a plan. And Maura Healey's not going to fix this situation either. She's going to let it burn to the ground. She's going to let it burn to the ground. All right, let's play the rest of this.
So ladies and gentlemen, please. I want to be very clear. I want to be very clear about something.
Yeah, Mr. Rage quit.
We have currently an ongoing, fair, and impartial external. Yes, it has external investigation.
Yet.
City Solicitor Bridges right here is running point. I am nowhere near that, but I will tell you this. I'm asking everybody, school employee, city employee, if you are applicable, take the time to be interviewed. I've already started to participate. I'll continue to participate. The other thing is, when they come with their findings in their report, I said this and I'll say it again, that report is going public. We need to figure out what happened. People can finger point all they want. People can finger point all they want, but I also want to be clear this. You only know what you know. I was not made aware of a fiscal 23 deficit until the date of August 8th, and that's a fact.
He knew about it.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, run out of there now.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All in favor? All opposed? Have a good night.
Yeah. See you later, buddy.
Have a good night.
Yeah. That's leadership. That's leadership. Robert Sullivan, the mayor of Brockton, that's leadership. You just displayed leadership there. That's unbelievable. That's disgusting behavior right there. Absolutely disgusting behavior. That's someone that doesn't want to answer the hard questions. He knew about this. This was called out a year or 2 years out that they knew this was going to happen. He knew about it. So don't let him lie to you. And the citizens of that city know as well too. He knew about this. So again, we're still waiting for the committee meeting to start. It sounds like we're getting some audio there, but no video. All right, looks like it's just come up. No video yet.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Policy Subcommittee meeting here at the William Arnone Theater on Belmont Street in Brockton. Today is Tuesday, March 5th, and it is 6:30 p.m. I would like to ask everybody to please stand and salute our flag. This time, I'd just like to read this into the record. This meeting, and not only is it held in person, but is also being held and accessible to the public by way of Comcast Channel 8 and 1071 HD version online by way of the link www.youtube.com/the Brockton channels. At this time, I would like to establish a quorum. Ms. Sullivan?
Here.
Mr. Chair?
Here.
Ms. Oliver?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
Ms. Azak? Here. Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
And I'm here as well. So at this time, number 4 on the agenda is for us to review. The reason we're here is to review the cell phone policy, the finalized version of the cell phone policy. I'd like to thank.
This is
before
a
we get
joke.
started, I'd like to
Wait
thank
for this one.
Dr. Michelle Connors, who worked with me over the last weekend, to pull this together so that we could get a final version for us to actually decide on and move on.
This is going to be a
I'm
joke.
Gonna call Dr. Connors up to be able to walk us through the versions that are in front of us so we can make a final decision and then move forward. Dr. Connors?
Yeah,
and
it's
thank
a
you
joke.
again.
I always need to be the first one. Is this on? Okay. So the first, I tried to label them. If I had my way, they would have been color coded. I didn't, the budget deficit, I don't have colored paper right now. Kidding, too soon. All right, so the first copy, draft 1, you received that in hard copy, let me say a month or so ago, when we had a meeting at the Little Theater. So that was the original. Dr. Cobbs had given the cabinet and the leadership team at Brockton High a draft to start with for the policy that included secure pouches. And so with cabinet and Brockton High School leadership team under Principal McCaskill's leadership, they gave feedback. So that's what you see captured in draft 1. As we know, we've talked about it here at the committee, teacher voice.
Yeah, I know, Mary. It's simple, right?
In this process, because they are with the students in the classrooms and the hallways, and there are more of them than there are leaders. So draft 2 takes what was in draft 1, it's the second stapled packet. And you'll notice some changes, some things that are crossed out, some additional words in red that have been added, and some items that have been highlighted in yellow. That represents faculty feedback. So while I'm talking about that, if you will grab that 4th packet of handouts, or the last packet, it says notable feedback to consider. On Thursday, February 29th, Principal McCaskill had a full faculty meeting with the Brockton High faculty and shared draft 1 with them.
Help us.
They were able to have some dialogue, and then a Microsoft form link was provided to the faculty, and they were given until Friday at 3 p.m. to submit their feedback. This last document captures their feedback. I tried to categorize it with common themes, so that you could see exactly what their words are, because their words are incredibly important in this process. As I mentioned, we received 88 responses.
5 memberships coming in.
Overwhelmingly positive. The questions they asked need to be considered as we go forward with implementation, understanding that implementation happens in
Welcome
the school,
in new members.
not here at the committee, but it does impact the policy. So I took that feedback and incorporated it into draft 2, so you could see where they wanted the changes made and what their suggestions were on rewording. I'll give a very easy, for example, at the bottom of the first page, the last bullet. On the initial document, it stated that after school detention would be from 2 to 4 that day. 2 problems there. We have some contractual considerations we have to keep in mind. We also, more importantly, have to consider our
Michelle,
families.
thank you for becoming a new member. I
My daughter is
appreciate
at
it. Thank
school and
you.
gets caught with a cell phone that day and is told she has to stay that day, that could cause a lot of problems for our families, transportation, other activities that they're involved in, their own childcare if they take care of younger siblings. So it's very important to the family, or to the faculty, that our families are represented in this
You're
as
welcome.
well, saying our handbooks do say 24-hour notice for any after school detention. So we work to build that in as well. So that's just a quick, easy way to show just the deep thoughts that our Brockton High faculty put into this work, because they know how important it is. The final copy, or the third set of documents you receive, it says preview across the front.
Welcome in, everybody. Smash that like
That
button on the way in,
represents
please.
all of the feedback that's
Let's get this up to
incorporated. I
200
took out the
likes.
colors, the crossouts, and just made it a very clean copy that's easier to read it in its entirety. And that's where it stands based on after the faculty feedback.
I'm really happy that people are paying attention to the situation in Brockton.
Dr. Connors, just a couple of questions.
Very important what's
So,
going on there.
Outside of
No leadership, no
municipal
control.
politics, I love the notable feedback. There's a thing called a decision log. And this is basically capturing the decision log of how we got to the point that, which I love this, because this shows why we made the decisions that we made. And the other thing is, the final copy we have today doesn't have to be the final. I look at it, and I don't know about everybody else, but we roll this out, we work out the kinks, see what happens with faculty and everyone. If it's working, great. If it's not, then we evolve and we adjust again. But I think this gives us something to work with. And more importantly, it has the voice of the faculty in it, which was very important to this committee. And so I'm going to open up questions to anybody that have any in regards to either one of these versions.
By the way, if you're watching me on Twitter, The home base here is on YouTube. You can find me at Let's Talk Live. I'm sorry, LTL True Crime. Come join us in the live chat.
What would
Subscribe
you
to the
say
channel.
was
Join us in the
you
live
said it was
chat.
very positive. What would you say was probably
I'll drop the link.
one or two things predominantly that faculty were concerned about so that we should be aware?
I think
I got
there's
180
there's definitely
watching
more than
on
two.
Twitter.
The
Thank you for
first
joining
and
us.
foremost is adherence to consequences. That came through loud and clear. And if we are saying these are the consequences, we all have to be prepared to enforce it and to follow them. And the issuance of consequences is incumbent upon leadership. That was loud and clear. There's a lot of what if questions, which are understandable. And I saw this when I was visiting a middle school today. Our laptops, you've heard, they're aging out. They need to be refurbished, and they're not. Some of them are not as reliable. So students do go on their phones to use their phones. I did see it in an English class today. Very resourceful young man with teacher permission. So there's that what if. Are students still going to be allowed? So I think there has to be that conversation about teacher discretion for an academic purpose. But there were also some comments like, well, they say it's for academics, but is it really? So it comes down to how are we as leaders supporting our teachers in this process because they're on the front lines. The other big issue that came through loud and clear is who is locking and unlocking. Some of the consequences talk about if the student is in the hallway, it may not be a student of mine. There's over 3,700 students there. And I say, please put your phone away. And they refuse. And I don't know who the student is. Or they say, well, I can't because my pouch is locked and a teacher doesn't have a magnet. So these are some of those logistical things we have to work out together and get a feel for it. I always say, you got to try it on for size and wiggle around in it a little bit and see what's working, what's not, and continually revisit for that feedback.
Thank you. Any questions from the group? Oh, Ms. Oliver.
A quick question about the headphones. I know the pouch will fit the cell phones and the earbuds. What about the headphones?
That was a big question that came through a lot. And so what I tried to do is incorporate in here about headphones that they need to be stored in a school bag or a backpack. But that also came up in the feedback because teachers gave that suggestion also. There are many students who don't carry bags. And so we do have to talk through as a team at Brockton High, what is next? Because I understand a worry if I give it over to the office and where are they securing it? So some of those logistical pieces, because I think when I'm up there, I feel like I see more headphones than I do earbuds. So we do have to talk that through. And that was a question among the faculty.
Yeah, because I did notice a lot of them.
Yep, you're right, Ben.
morning,
Yes.
And they are very large. So
Yes.
we need to figure out where we're putting them and how we're going to basically figure that out soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr.
Robert,
Sullivan?
thank you for the 25
Dr.
on
Connor,
PayPal.
so
Appreciate
looking at
that.
The preview
Mhm.
and
It's on. Yeah.
And again, if you're on Twitter and you want
Hello?
to join us over here on YouTube, just look up LTL True
I'm talking about
Crime.
the smartwatches.
You can join us live and
crossed
join the
off
live
first
chat.
two, and it's not on the third one.
There was a lot of questions in the feedback about why smartwatches.
Nathaniel, thank
They
you for
don't
dropping
have
the 5. I
capabilities
appreciate
that are as
that.
distracting as the cell phones in terms of recording. A lot of faculty wear them. A lot of students do wear them. I'm addicted to my own. just
I
because
can't do it right now,
keeps me on my
Bob. I'll have to do it at the end
no
of the
pun
show.
intended. And so it's through the feedback, it didn't seem to be a concern. Smartwatches are not a concern, except in a testing environment. Our DESE MCAS guidelines do say no smartwatches for testing.
I will be
because
doing it,
There's
MCAT.
calculator capabilities. It's not about it doesn't rise to the realm of looking something up on the internet or recording. So it's not part of the faculty. From what I gathered from their feedback, did not see smartwatches as the issue.
I don't have a smartwatch myself, but the wife does, and she gets phone calls into the.
Yes.
I don't know how it works, but she knows that the phone is ringing by that smartwatch.
Yes.
Rob, I appreciate
so ideally the phone would be powered off and put in the pouch, but if it's not powered off and then the battery's going to drain, it is a locked pouch. So yes, it could ring, but if we start to get into these kind of one-offs, then we're going to drive ourselves crazy. So I think it kind of goes back to let's see what happens if smartwatches do present a problem, then we need to revisit that piece of it.
Okay.
But I have not heard issues with smartwatches.
All right. Thank you.
Ms. Sullivan?
Thank you, Dr. Connors.
Yeah, right.
So who's going to go over this with the students, like the policy and the consequences and the offenses and everything?
That's it.
And
That's
the
so out of
parents?
touch.
So that's where, at our level of leadership, we work in a
just
role
read
to
my mind.
support and talk through some systems and structures that we may think are best with the leadership team. But ultimately, that's a decision of the leadership team
Right
on how
back.
they implement it. We will, of course, recommend, and I'm sure I don't even have to recommend this to Principal McCaskill and his team, to have those assemblies and those forums. The world, according to Michelle Connors, I wouldn't do the entire freshman class in an auditorium because that's a large group, but give opportunities for maybe some smaller settings so the students can ask questions. Their voice is why we do this work. So the implementation piece we need to leave to leadership and ensure that it's done well.
I'd like to just let the record show that committee member Claudio Gomes has joined us. Welcome. And Ms. Azak?
Thank you, Dr. Connors. I just have a question. So the third offense, the phones are going to go to the main office. How are we going to secure them? These phones are expensive and we shouldn't be responsible if anything happens to them. So are we going to have some kind of a safe? How are we going to secure them so we can make sure that the students get back their phones when a caregiver or a parent picks them up?
Absolutely. And so it says main office, and I believe we adjusted it to say or house office, depending. All of those locations do have safes that are locked or closed, and there's always an adult there, but things do happen. And so again, we have to talk through, though the devil is in the details. We do have to talk through what that means and what that looks like, because we've had those instances where a phone is confiscated and something happens, and understandably the family is incredibly upset. So we have to talk through that.
One quick question is, when we were talking to Principal McCaskill last week, he made a really good point about pacing all the transitions. So was that part of your conversation with faculty in terms of when to roll out, how to roll out? I mean, originally when we were trying to push this through, we were thinking at the end of February vacation, we were going to try to roll it out. Is that something that's realistic for April vacation? So we can, I'm throwing that out there for conversation to see if it's even feasible, or are these continued conversations with administration that should be happening before we actually get to that point?
I think the first step is obviously approval of a policy, because then that gives you something to now work with. And then once the committee, if you so vote to approve this policy, then Principal McCaskill brings it to his team, and then they start talking about what does this look like, and the faculty, what does it mean for them? What are they comfortable with? Everything, everywhere, all at once is not going to work. And you set up very adversarial conditions between adults and students, and we don't want that. So I think it needs to be very deliberate. You go slow to go fast. So that's my thinking.
Fair enough.
It's actually $34
Mr.
million.
Rodriguez.
Thank you. How are we going to handle our older student populations, the 18 and 19-year-olds, when it comes to parent notification? Because they are adults when it comes to getting their phones.
No,
I'm
wait,
18
but-
years old. It's my phone. You're not taking it away from me. They're still a student, but
They're still a student,
it's
and we would.
confiscated, but as far as making that,
It's live.
home,
We're
I gotta call
live.
My parents. I'm an adult.
So students
live.
can legally be in our schools until 22. So they are still adults, but they are under our care in loco parentis. So we will communicate with parents. We will still, those consequences are
You're
the
right, Scott.
consequences. We deal with this with field trip permission slips, because at 18 they can sign them. But it doesn't mean we don't communicate with their families. And so that's still the fact that they're 18, they're still a student enrolled in Brockton Public Schools, and it's a Brockton Public School policy.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Dr. Connors. I really applaud you for getting feedback from the teachers and the staff. It's extremely important. My question is to Dr. Cobbs. When we were here last week, we were talking about doing a pilot program. It's going to be about 1,000 of the Yonder.
Here he is.
About $40.
The man with no plan.
Is there an update on that?
Yes, there is.
Robert Sullivan, the mayor.
With the representatives again, and they decided to work with us and give us a discount on the pouches instead of $40 or $30. And realizing that we had a cap at $100,000. So what we did was,
Oh my God.
4,000, we'll buy 3,700. So that puts us just under the cap at 99,000.
Oh my God.
So we can buy them all at once.
$99,000 on secure pouches. No wonder no one can run this school.
Thank you. If I may, I just noticed one piece I wanted to point out. There is still some red in your preview copy. I did that purposefully just to call your attention to the fact we did have Attorney Page
$99,000 on secured pouches.
Our handbooks and supports us in that work. So the items in red were for me to call out, or if they're still in, I'm not sure if they're in red for you. So the bottom of page 2 is underlined. There's a line, the last line is underlined on page 2. Is it still underlined on yours? Okay. All right, then we fix it. So anyway, Attorney Paige Tobin did look this over and gave her feedback. And if you want to see my copy, it's here in red.
Yeah, wait till they lose the pouch.
I can certainly do that. So at the bottom of page 2, the last line that states, any suggestions will follow due process procedures consistent with the Student Code of Conduct and state law. That is her addition. On page 3, the second bullet, again, the third and fourth words, it's the students will receive disciplinary consequences. And then again, the last line, which is a repetition of the line on page 2, is the legal language. And the third bullet, receive disciplinary consequences, including, and then the last line, any suspension will follow due process procedures consistent with the Student Code of Conduct and state law. So this has been vetted by the attorney as well.
Yeah, why not put that into security?
Mr. Rodriguez.
Good point, Daisy.
One last question. Did we get any data on actually how many students actually have cell phones? Because not every student has a phone. Not every student can afford a cell phone. I would like to.
Good luck getting that.
I mean, if there's a possibility, if we can get an actual number. I know.
How do you do that?
Are you on the phone?
Yeah,
Yes or no?
everybody owns the phone.
You can, and we're also, we've started, part of the feedback that I didn't include in this draft because it's not necessarily germane to policy, but that students are already talking that they know this is coming. And there's already been talk about, I'll just bring an old phone so they can see me put it in a pouch. So asking
you're right,
them,
Patrick.
we can collect that data. I just don't know the validity of that data.
I mean, when we visited Springfield, that was one of the biggest things. The object of this is making sure that they have that phone away. There was kids with 2 phones, 3 phones. It's just so that we don't see those phones.
Exactly right.
And I think what you'll find, our students, as we know, are amazing. I think that you'll find they don't want to put it in a pouch that's locked, but they'll say, I'll put it away. If I know the consequence is I have to lock it in a pouch and it's controlled, let me just put it away. You won't see it, I promise. And if you do see it, you're right. I have to put it in a locked pouch. I think that's really what you'll probably start to see with our students, is that those pouches become the consequence as opposed to the reality. But again, I think that's going to depend on what rollout looks like initially. And to Vice Chair Ehler's point, the adjusting based on feedback from faculty and how it's going.
And with that as well, Mr. Rodriguez, the ones that do keep the phones, and if they're using them, it's going to be the standout. It's going to be the 1 or 2 in the class, not everybody. So it'll be pretty obvious.
Buzzing, you're welcome. Thank you for being a member. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any
Thank you
other
for supporting the
questions in
channel.
regards? Mr. Sullivan?
Just one quick one on page 1. If the pouch has to be replaced, it's $40.
$40, yes.
He's getting that.
Actually, we need to change that to $30.
Okay, I can do that. $30.
Ms. Azak?
So, what happens if they don't have
Yeah,
the $30?
right, you're right.
Do we give them some kind of detention?
Oh my God.
Not every
No one
student can
knows
afford
anything here.
$30.
But
I can speak to that.
One
So-
that will go in there, Infinite Campus. We have a fees tab in Infinite Campus. It will go in there. So when it's time for
Look at the communication. No one knows anything.
With books and later you're going to vote on this laptop policy. It'll be the same thing.
And so
Back to
that's
that
what
again.
traditionally with textbooks back in the day. There were textbook obligations. For seniors, it was incredible. It was really a bigger deal. Juniors possibly with prom tickets, but prom doesn't happen close enough to the end of the year. But with senior and graduation tickets and prom, it was like you have to pay your obligations in order to attend those. I think that's another conversation on what does that look like, to repay, if you will. It doesn't necessarily isn't monetary. And I would, I can imagine people say, well, if they have a phone, they can afford it. That's an assumption I don't think we should be making at all about anything. So I think we have to be cognizant of it may not be monetary, and what are we prepared to do to support that payoff?
Community service.
Right.
In the school.
Mhm.
I agree. Not every student, I know it's a small amount for some, but not every student has that extra $30.
Over time, like we do at Edison Academy for tuition, we can make payment schedules with the student or the parent.
So, I apologize. So Dr. Cobb's, it's 3,000 at $30.
3,700.
So 3,700.
Angel, thank you for your
brings
support
us
for
over the 90,000
5
on
months.
11.
Angel said
$30.
no oversight
Yep.
committee.
So we're fine. We don't have to.
right.
Okay. 'Cause I know originally it was
It's
the
under the
9.
100,000, it's 9,000. I have
The principal
purchase
is
order here
new.
once again,
He's only been there about 3
$9,680.
weeks. And he actually sounds like he's got a plan, but these bozos are holding him up.
Well, the purchase order is for 9,000, so it's, so.
Yeah, I should hope so. Math wasn't my
Yeah.
my strong
Okay.
strong. It's 111,000.
And leadership is
so
not your
maybe do the-
area expertise either. So
3,700 to $30.
Just so we don't
is
have to
1,100,
revote
but then
the
they
number.
discounted it again to $13,000.
this is unbelievable.
Okay, this is, I'm sorry? Yes, yes. So basically how it mapped out, you're right, Ms. Azak.
Yeah, you're right.
It comes to 37 quantity at a rate of
Ouch.
$30 each for $111,000 with a $13,320 discount to bring us down to $99,680 for all 3,700
With the
units.
2,000 shipping.
I'd love
Yeah,
100 grand
and
into
that also
security. How
includes
about
a
you
2,000
guys?
shipping charge, but it's still beneath the $100,000 procurement.
If you
Thank you.
would rather $100,000 in security, put a 1 in the chat. If you want cell phone pouches,
get a
put
start
2 in the
tonight.
chat.
Okay, any other questions in regards to the verbiage in the policy? At this time, do we want to entertain a vote? I would entertain a vote.
Motion to vote. Let's get this policy.
Unreal.
So
I think
So,
everybody
a full
wants
motion.
security.
Read the motion, full motion. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve this, was it the student phone policy?
Kelly, thank you for the
Discipline
5 on
procedures?
6 on Cash App. I appreciate it.
Okay,
Yeah, discounts the kickback, the 13 grand.
yes.
It's insane. $99,000 in the phone pouches. This is why Brockton can't function.
Yes.
As amended, $30.
Correct.
A cougar.
Now, can I get, I'm going to do a roll call vote for this one. Ms. Sullivan? Mr. Chair? Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
We do a
Ms.
poll?
Ms.
Yes.
Oliver?
All right.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes. What
Ms.
poll?
Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well.
Do a poll.
Hallelujah. It passes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last order of business is any other business? Do we have any other business for policy? Okay, then at this time, in light of the time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Second.
All right, they're not gonna
Okay,
leave.
Ms. Sullivan, properly seconded by Ms. Azak. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. Chair, Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms.
We're gonna
Azak?
now go to
Mr. Sullivan?
the school.
And I'm a yes as well. This meeting's officially adjourned. Thank you so much.
All right, it may go off and we have to grab another stream. That's just policy. Let me find the other stream. Poll at the top. I mean, it probably is going to stay live here, and then they'll come back and do the school committee meeting. So that's just policy, the first agenda. Hang out here a little bit. If you're just watching us on YouTube, make sure to smash that like button. I got quite a few people watching on the Twitter sphere. And if you want to come over and join us on YouTube, just look us up, LTL True Crime. You can come hang out in the chat and chat along with all the beautiful people over here. Make sure to subscribe and upvote as well. We're waiting for the meeting to come back, and then they will talk about all the issues that are going on as far as Brockton High, not policy. Let's see here. See if they started a new stream. Hang on there, people. There's still a lot more. We're just waiting for them to come back in session. I got a lot. It's not over. Don't run away, everybody. It is not over. They will be back. Yeah, I love this one. B Legend says they couldn't manage a lemonade stand. Absolutely. I agree. But they will come back in session at 7 p.m. So about another minute. And then it's going to get really interesting tonight. Believe me. So just hang out a little bit. They will be back. It ain't over yet. So what do we all think? Do we think that let me know in the chat. Do you think that the people that are in power, the leadership at the top, is able to run this? I got a poll at the top, and I asked, please, is this committee competent? We got 6% that say yes, and 94% of you say no. I can't, I'd love to hear from the 6%. Let us know in the chat why you think that they are competent. So again, we're waiting here for session to come back. It should start up here in a couple of minutes, and then they're going to really get to the nitty gritty, why we're all here. Not just policy, but what they're going to do to fix Brockton High. Oh, jeez. I'll tell you. Ain't going to happen. There's an ongoing city council meeting going right now. But again, we're just waiting here for it to pop back up. 6% must have stock in pouches. Yes, I like that. Again, we're just holding out. We're waiting for the meeting to restart. They take a little bit of a break, and then they'll come back into session. And then they get a lot of. There's going to be a lot of questions that need to be answered tonight. I don't know how long they take a break. It might be 5 minutes or so, but we'll hang here. We'll hang here. So just to give everybody an update, tomorrow I'm actually going to go look at a studio space not far from my house, about 15 minutes from where I live now. And hopefully something works out. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be great to get into an actual working studio and be able to have live guests come in and sit down. I want kind of a long table style where I can have a few mics and people can just come in and sit down. I thought of that, and I also thought about couches or something like that. So people just come in and hang out. Yes, the casting couch. No, I won't have a casting couch, but I thought maybe some nice furniture or something like that. So hopefully it works out. Just have to see how big the spaces are. But I'm gonna go check that out actually after work tomorrow, and I'm really excited about it. Again, if you're just joining in, we just had the policy meeting here at Brockton Public School Committee. We're waiting for them to come back in session, and here we go.
You ready?
I don't have a basement. Sorry, I live in an apartment. Casting couch reminds me of SVU episode. All right, we're waiting for them to come back in session. Here we go.
I hereby call the Brockton School Committee to order. We are at the Dr. William H. Arnone School Theater, 135 Belmont Street here in Brockton, 02301. It being Tuesday, March 5th, 2024, 7 o'clock. I'd like to read the following to the record, if I could. Welcome to a meeting of the Brockton School Committee. This is the agenda that will be discussed this evening. Please note that hearing of visitors is included. I want to thank Lisa for providing it to me tonight on behalf of Melinda. If you have a statement or question, please give your name to the secretary, which we have everybody signed in. Again, it's limited to 3 minutes in scope. In addition to attending tonight, the public can view this meeting via television on Comcast Channel 8, and also on the 1071 HD version, and also online via the following link, which is www.youtube.com/the Brockton channels. I have called the meeting to order. I've established a quorum at this time. Mr. Sullivan, Ms. Ehlers,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes, here. Ms. Oliver,
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Here.
It's going to get interesting.
Mr. Sullivan.
Here.
I'm here as well. We've established a quorum. I'd ask us to please stand and salute the American flag at this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda item 2 is the hearing of visitors. I'd like to read the following into the record again. Pursuant to school committee policy, each person requesting to speak shall be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. Since this period is limited to 15 minutes, a total of 5 people shall be permitted to speak on a first come, first served basis. That's our
You're right,
policy.
Jody.
We've waived it. We will continue to waive it tonight. We have more than 5 people that have signed in. So out of really the fairness of everybody that took the time to come here tonight. But at some point, we have to, as a committee as a whole, talk about this because we do have a policy in effect. So at this time, Casey Wilkinson is the first.
Yeah, he wants to
person
run out of
speak
there
tonight.
again. Oh, this is going to get good.
Good evening.
Is this on? Can you hear me? Good evening. My name is Casey Wilkinson, and I am a teacher and a constituent in the district. I wanted to speak tonight on behalf of some of my fellow middle school teachers. Over the past few years, we have endured the behaviors experienced by our high school teachers. We have been called a multitude of names, such as fat F and B, F and C word, the white devil, F and A-hole, and D rider. We have also been told to F off, stop riding my D, get off my D. These are words that are spoken often. These are words that your children are hearing. These words know no bounds. These are the words that need to stop. Students, yes, at the middle school level, also use their physical presence to intimidate staff from telling us they know where we live, to what cars we drive, to blocking our exit to
Middle
leave a room.
school.
I see the defeat. I see the exasperation. I have seen teachers want to leave, and I have seen them go. I feel the helplessness. I feel the worry. Where is the support for us? You hold us accountable for many, many things, and we meet those challenges. Where is the accountability on the students? Where's the accountability on the parents? The parents you need to reach are not watching these meetings. They are not following the Brockton community pages. How are you reaching them? Where are the supports for the building administrators? I am purely speculating as a classroom teacher, but I bet your building administrators feel just as exasperated when there are students in their building ruining their culture, ruining their positivity, ruining the academic learning time of most of the students in the building. What are you and central administration doing about this? The era of pitting one school against another needs to stop. Kathy Smith once said she was told Brockton is a district of schools and not a school district. You have made it that way. And what have you done to change this? We should be acting as one and supporting all. Every building will have tougher years than others. Why aren't we growing together? As Stacey McDonald said, we need action. We are constantly talking about 100 to 200 students affecting the high school. What is the number at the middle schools? What is that number at the elementaries? What is the protocol for all chronic offenders? What are the steps to intervene? Are you identifying them? What are you doing to mitigate their behaviors at the elementary, middle school, and high school level? It feels like Groundhog Day to us teachers. These students are repeatedly disrupting the learning environment and nothing seems to change. Enough with PBIS, enough with restorative practices. They aren't working. Teachers are not made whole in the process, and neither are the students who are subjected to their wrongful, repeated behavior. People might question why I keep harping on the negative, because I believe we must address the negative to get to the positive. I have to be an advocate for the Damaris, the Anicias, the Jayleens, the Wands, the Derricks. I have to help make their future Brockton Public School experience a positive one. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to apologize if I mispronounce your name. I do apologize. Mamadou Tahamo. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. My name, too short for me. Thank you. My name is Mamadou. I was a student of Brockton High, graduated in 2022, and now I go to UMass Lowell, major in political science. I was the class president in 2022. And over the past couple of weeks, I have observed what's happening at Brockton High, Brockton Public Schools in general, and me and my peers in general that have graduated, we're all unhappy. Obviously, if you come from Brockton High, you call it your pride, you love your school, and you don't want to see negative news about your school, and that's all we've been seeing. Over the past couple of weeks, all I've been seeing is about how Brockton has a National Guard, and obviously that's probably hopefully doesn't happen. But yesterday, I'm on spring break. I went to Brockton High and I observed what's happening around the school, and all I saw was chaos, no staff, no control.
Wow.
I talked to teachers, students.
God.
All they told me was that even if they take students to get disciplined, they don't. There's no staff. There's no staff in the hallways. Kids do whatever they want, and we can't be having that around the schools. We need to do better for our students, for some of whom they actually want to learn. For a school of almost 4,000 kids, we tend to focus on maybe the 300 kids, and we fail the other 3,000. And that's not what we should be doing. We should be focusing on our students, providing them all the sources that they need, providing them the learning abilities, resources, and to just make sure we support them to graduate. And I think that's what we're doing. And one of the main things is we fail student engagement. I feel like we're at the table talking about solutions when we don't engage students. I think before I left high school, we had something called Student Voices. As class president, I led it, me and Ellen. And I came back yesterday. It's almost dead now. You have to include the students in the solutions. The students know what's going on. Until we do that, we will not come with something viable. We are adults talking on the table, and we cannot engage. We cannot come up with proper solutions until we include the kids that are in the problem or the kids that are already with those kids. And another thing that I don't want to see is I talked to a kid yesterday at the main office. He's like, I'm transferring. I was like, why are you transferring to another school? Brockton provides you everything you need. And I know that it's providing me everything that I need from middle school to high school, and I'm grateful for that. So I think no kid should ever have to transfer district. My siblings go here, my cousins go here, and I want them to remain here. So please, I would say to the school district, do not fail our kids and do not fail our teachers. Provide them with the resources that we need so we can have a better district. Thank you.
Thank you. Riley McAvoy, please. Riley McAvoy.
Good evening. I'm a senior at Brockton High. I'm super glad to be part of a ton of programs, the band program. I have my band booster friends over here. I saw the band student enter. I do as much when I come with my teachers. I do my best to be friends with everyone. I'm friends with Mr. McCaskill. We talk almost on a daily. I spoke to a lot of the committee members as I was entering, and I wanted to talk about my experiences and my time here at Brockton High because I'm leaving soon. I have 2 months. But I'm glad to say that I haven't had that many negative experiences. I've had a ton of friends who can say the same as well, that we as a student body as a whole have to take a back and look at how much we've come to make as 100%, not just the 10% or the 15% that might be the bad students, but all of us in total should really be seeing the positive outcomes we made. I mean, I just got a message right before the very first meeting earlier about how we have a new South Korea program where we're going to go visit that in May. And that is super impressive because it's completely funded. And I'm very glad to say that we're going to have that opportunity. But I'm also glad to say that the opportunities provided at Brockton are in such a mass that we as a total should really look onto the good students and not have the media point out, we are the worst school in the country. We are not. We are one of the best. We were voted 10 years ago. We were considered one of the best in the country. And I'm glad to say that I'm a part of that. I'm glad to say that almost all of you are a part of that. And even some of you up here are part of that. I'm glad to say that I'm part of that too. My Brockton experience, I've been able to make friends with everyone. I had a conversation in the hallway with a teacher today. I'm not going to name drop her. Respect you though. She and I've never spoken a word to her before, but we had a conversation about the future of Brockton High and how she feels completely safe, how she feels as if those are her friends. And she understands there are students who do not listen. There are students who do wander the halls, and there are students who do not listen to the rules. But I'm not part of that.
Why has no one
I know my
addressed
friend over in the back over there is not
the
part of
teacher that was
I know most of
beaten
us
up
aren't
on
part of that.
Monday?
And I know that mass majority of us are still not part of that. We are being seen as one of the negatives in the country, not just the state, not
Because
just the
it's
city,
bad.
but the country. And to point that out really hurts to end off my year like that, to end off my Brockton experience like that. So I want to be able to make a difference. I'm going to come back here next week. I know this because I know my time's almost up. I'm going to have all of you guys here, hopefully, and I'm going to make this
I
difference.
mean, I
Thank you very
understand.
much.
I mean,
Have a
I
good night.
gotta listen. I gotta understand. You're trying to come from a positive angle, but to ignore what's going on, I think is
Teresa Mighty, please.
Uh,
Teresa Mighty.
what's the word I'm looking for? I think a little premature. I mean, it's bad. I mean, we just read about fight clubs that are happening in Brockton High. I mean, the New York Post just made a
Hello.
reported story about
Good
that.
evening. I'm a parent, and I think that Mr. Thomas should come back. He was really good. He got a lot of teachers. He got the buses. He did what he's supposed to do. And
Mike
we didn't have
Thomas
these
is not the
issues when he
answer.
was here, you know. And we keep saying we need more teachers. Well, put them back in. You know, get some teachers. Help these kids that need it. Some support and everything. Don't just vote them out. Put them back in. All right.
Thank you. Mike Thomas
Michael
is not
Slade,
the answer.
please. Michael Slade.
Holy schmolies, people. My heart hurts for this community. This is going to take a lot to fix this. My heart really hurts for this community. And there's no one that has a sense of leadership here. And they've all been blinded by the politics of the people that have been in power for 30 years.
By simply showing
John
up
C.
here tonight
Williams.
shows there's a level of commitment and to change, and that should be applauded by all you guys. As introduced, my name is Michael Slade. I've been a resident of Brockton since 1991. I too attended Brockton High. But my sad reality is I didn't make it past the 9th grade. I indulged in gangs, violence, and drug dealing, which ultimately led to my incarceration at the age of 16. I personally know the consequences of misguided thinking and actions, but I also believe if there were more tangible resources or people at that time, it probably could have prevented my descent. I say that to say this. How can I help? What can I do to change the narrative? Where does my level of culpability lie? Am I guilty of negligence, ignorance, and the minimalization of issues that now since ballooned out of control? These are some of the questions we all have to ask ourselves. There's enough culpability to go around. Systemic, parental, and children alike. Let's stop using our index fingers and start using our thumbs. This is a problem that we can fix. Now, the speech has actually stopped, but it's more or less like we think about all the problems that we're running into on a consistent basis. It's a lot of you, system, but we have yet to really come together. I guess this is probably us coming together, but coming together and really internally finding the problems. I do a show on Mondays called The Rant. It's about mental health. This is something that our kids understand. There's a stigma over our heads. There's a proverbial wall in front of us that we are not knocking down. You know what I'm saying? And that starts internally. Before we even send our kids out to school, you have to notice the red flags that are being shown to you. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the times we ignore these things. And we look back at all these talking points, like 1,100 police calls within a year. You got Fox coverage, you got WCVB, you have injured staff. Just as of Monday, you have all these things happening right now. And we got parents up here saying, you. Let's stop sending these kids to school with all these problems. Let's start getting involved with our kids a little more, because we're all acting as if these are extended parents, but we also have a responsibility before we send our children out. Waking up in a positive energy, disseminating great energy for our children before you send them packing, and expect them to do great. And the worst part, I believe, is us standing like we're beyond reproach as parents. When you get that call and some teacher's scared, or there's a student that's education's being taken away because your child is in there acting foolish, and then get called and then have the unmitigated gall to say, no, that's not what's happening. Wait a minute. That's the problem. That's perpetuating the cycle and the stereotypical behavior that we have to conquer. So I'll say this in closing, guys. We got to start using our thumbs instead of our index fingers, guys. Thank you for your time.
John T. Williams right next to him, too. I'd love to get John on my channel. I can find a way. Or if anybody knows him,
Cynthia
please get him in
Hodges,
touch
please.
with me.
Cynthia Hodges.
I'll drop my email address.
Hi, good afternoon to Mayor Sullivan, the chair, vice chair, and all the school committees. I guess you say, why is Cynthia Hodges always up here? And, but I'm a concerned parent. My kids went to school here. I look out, I want to piggyback off what the young gentleman just said. The concerns, why did you let this problem get to this? That's my question. I want to know beforehand, why did someone not try to get it under control? That's the major problem on it. Just like you say, we can point fingers at Tony, we can point fingers at Mayor Sullivan, we can point fingers, but that's not the issue. The issue is, how did it get to this point?
There's no communication.
And my second question
There's no
is
plan.
why every time there's a fight or something breaks out at Brockton High School, why is the news media the first thing there? You're not there to celebrate a child showing what he has done or what the teacher has provided for them.
Well, because you are out of the school's out of
Come
control.
with your camera and recognize what they are doing nice at Brockton High School, not always the negativism. That's why I come here. We can talk, we can put blame, just like the young gentleman said, until it started at home. My grandmother was old school. Charity started at home and spread abroad. And that's a true statement here. You have to think about, it deals with the parents got to start. Just like you say, they only here to give you some breakfast, some teaching, some lunch. That's what someone might come for, but that's not it all that's here. But my problem is, recognize the good. Don't recognize the bad, because we need that to happen here at Brockton High. We have a good staff, we have a good committee, we have a good body, we have good people. Show it. Don't continue to, belittle us, defame us. That's what I would call it. It's defaming our character here in Brockton. And I think it's been defamed long enough. I think we should start from tonight. If you can come out here and support this, go into school and start to support your teachers, your students, and whatever it needs to take. Thank you.
Danny Santana, please. Danny Santana.
Oh, boy. Such a broken.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not gonna need this. Everybody can hear me, right?
Yes.
All right. So I just came to observe, but three key things that I observed. You're understaffed, your kids don't get acknowledged, and there's a large sense of fear and anxiety with these kids. Okay? When you guys start talking about bringing in the National Guards, what you guys are doing is creating animosity in the larger masses of kids that doesn't need to happen. Now, I just got informed there's 3,700 kids in this school, with about only 300 kids that are the problem. Now, if you guys are paying more attention to those 300 than the 3,700, that's a problem in itself. I'm not here to point no fingers, but I want to say a couple of things. I seen a couple of good brothers walk into this room that I know from Boston. They ran the streets with me. They were gang members like myself, and they changed their lives. They're in this room right now. A couple of these guys need to talk to them, because that's your solution to these kids. People like me, that's the solution to this. All this negative attention that Brockton's getting, Brockton's not the worst school, not at all. But you guys are paying attention to all the wrong things. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Tatiana Jean Noel. Tatiana Jean Noel, please.
Whew. I pray for that community.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Tatiana Jean Noel. I am a 2011 Brockton High grad. social worker, business owner, and most importantly, a sold out child of God. I have watched over the last few weeks snippets and full clips. And one thing I can start by saying is I'm not coming before you today with any anger, animosity, but I'm coming to you with a heart. I'm coming to you with a heart full of gratitude and a deep sense of purpose. Our journey in education is not merely about imparting knowledge, but about nurturing souls and shaping futures. I recently stepped down from a position in one of our local schools, and I can 1000% without a doubt tell you that the minds of our young people are being formed as early as the pre-K classrooms. So today I want to share a story of a transformation, mentorship, and the power of collective unity. We all have encountered students who test our patience and challenge our resolve. Yet it is in these moments of adversity that the true essence of mentorship and education shines brightest. I want to speak of a former student, once rebellious, labeled a nightmare, a student who was kicked out, suspended over 20 times in their first year, just as a freshman alone. This teen routinely fought, but wait, now I've heard that she is a 3-degree holder, 1 more pending, and a law-abiding citizen, so I'm told. This student is not a random student, but the student is me. My journey was not solitary. It was marked by the unwavering support and the care of dedicated teachers and mentors, 2 of which who stand in this room today. One in spirit, Mary Collins, may she rest in peace. And another in the physical, Assistant Superintendent Michelle Connors. And many and many more who strived and worked with me. The Azure Social Science Department. Go Azure. Between the years of 2008 and 2011, that I will forever be grateful for and owe my transformation to. I honestly can't stand before you in less than 3 minutes and okay, never mind. It's 20 seconds. I thank you. Brockton, amazing. Bye.
Jamal Gooding, please. Jamal Gooding.
Good point, Gabriella.
Got some big guys. Come on in. I want everybody out here. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is
Big
Jamal
presence.
Gooding. For most of you that may not know me, I am the executive director and founder of PAC,
Yep.
People
You spoke
Affecting
last time.
Community Change. And it's what we've done consistently prior to
Guy is
COVID,
smart.
during COVID, after COVID, working with those who may be
He's gonna talk
experiencing
about it right
barriers
now.
coming home from prison, those young adults that could not find employment and needed development,
Those guys could get
those who
some
don't
stuff
speak
done.
English as a primary language in this city, connecting them with food, transportation, housing, wraparound services. It's what we've done. And we've done it as a team. I came in here last week amidst a lot of anger. Many had a lot of complaints, and rightfully so. And I said in that meeting that Brockton is great. Brockton is awesome. We're a great city. And there's a lot that want to help and have great intentions and a lot of passion. But we came in here last week and said, we can help. Let us go into your school right now, 100 guys, free, and restore public safety. Let us bring our proven staff that have worked in other schools and brought about proven outcomes to connect and identify those who are a part of the 10% that may be causing troubles. And then let us go ahead and help and work with the staff in
They
place
need
to connect
mentors
these
in
young
that
adults
school.
to
They need
some
men
new
to talk to
resources,
these
some
kids.
21st century resources,
Or women, strong women to talk to
solution-based
these kids.
resources. I brought with me tonight a crew, culturally competent, street workers, DYS workers, professionals, fathers, speaking different
They
languages.
need. Yes, and
And
strong
I
women.
said to the school committee and the mayor tonight, I'm upset. We met 7 days ago.
And strong
I
women.
have went to the mayor's office, the superintendent's office, met with the principal, had so many countless parents call me and say, hey, we want to go with you. What is it going to take for someone to make a decision about keeping our staff and our students safe?
Yep.
If money is an issue, we'll work for free. If you say go in there tomorrow morning, we'll be in there tomorrow morning. Now, as a professional, I understand that there is also a process that we may have to be undergone. But I'm going to challenge our mayor, our superintendent. I'm going to challenge the principal. I'm going to challenge your parents. Whatever we got to do for somebody to make a decision, it needs to be made now. Brockton is great. It will be great.
This guy gets it.
That it doesn't continue to be great. Thank you.
Julie Fairfield, please. Julie Fairfield.
Hi. First, I want to start with a positive because I try to be positive. I feel like last week.
Julie, I don't think they can hear you.
This is the poor lady that won't leave her
Me?
classroom all day to use the
You
restroom.
can hear me
She's
downstairs.
so scared.
I feel like a lot of what's put in the media is all the negative. Like that young man was saying, I feel like even if you say something positive, sometimes that will get twisted, and it will be because people want salacious. That's what they want to view. And I have some great kids. I have some really, really awesome kids.
Yeah.
I have some kids that someone across the room will say something and they'll think I've heard it. And they'll, you apologize to her right now. I'm telling you, some kids, and not necessarily kids who want to do anything in math class, but they don't want my feelings hurt or want me to feel bad. There are great students at Brockton High School. There are, and we're doing them a disservice. And I know that there are people that are trying. The administrators are working so hard to try to clear out those halls. I know they are, but there was a gentleman who spoke last week about students not feeling connected. The first year
I'm
that
not
I
from
was
Brockton.
at Brockton High School, we had homeroom. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy to some people, but I loved it.
Why do you ask?
But I only had it for 1 year, and I had sophomores. But those kids knew me. The rest, the high school, even though it was only in their sophomore year that I saw them every morning for like 20, 25 minutes. I would help them with their math homework. They would talk to me. I'd bring them donuts. I mean, it was awesome. And so that's a relationship that they can build that doesn't have anything to do really with academics. It's a teacher in the school they can feel connected to that always has their back, is going to go to bat for them, is going to help them out. And I don't know if any other teachers liked it. Maybe not. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, you just go up to homeroom, you take attendance. It's like, oh, fun. But I loved it. I got to know kids in a different atmosphere. And I think we really need to bring that back. I hope that
But
we
if
can bring
kids
that
are
back.
not willing to
because
do
I
it,
think that would
how,
help
you know?
for some of these students to feel a connection to the school, because it's someone that is outside. I had some kids that got into some trouble.
What is
but
it? You can leave
they
the
knew that
horse
I would
water,
judge
but you can't make
They
them
knew
drink.
how I was, and so they knew that there was someone that
I
they
think
could
that's
talk
the
to.
situation that's
And I
going
really
on
think
here.
that we need that. And I'm just really surprised no one's talked about it. And I'll be real fast. It really upset me at the end of the last meeting, the lack of decorum. We
glad
need
she's
to
pointing
set an
that out.
example. And I feel like we just really, we're telling the kids, this is how you need to act. And it wasn't just the members here. I was trying to get people to because we're asking our kids.
No, you need to take control of the situation.
We now go on to agenda item 3, which is the report of Superintendent of Schools, Dr. James Cobbs, please.
So we have a short agenda today. First thing on the agenda is the acceptance of a donation to the unknown school. It's in your packets, 700 books that are donated from the Voya Foundation for pre-K to 5, grade pre-K to 5, for the unknown school classroom library.
Any questions? It'd be a form of a motion. We'd have to formally take a vote to accept that as a gift.
Motion to accept the gift for the unknown school of 700 books.
The motion was made by Mr. Sullivan. It was properly seconded by Ms. Azak. I'll just read the roll. Mr. Sullivan? Ms. Ehlers? Mr. Gomes? Yes. Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. The gift has been recognized and it has been accepted by the committee.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda, item B, is the FY 2025 budget planning by City CFO Troy Clarkson and Interim School Business
Be good.
Administrator Patricia Boyer.
Even Ms. Clarkson.
Here's your budget. Oh God. I don't think so. It's crazy.
I think they were already included in the packet.
Oh, good. All right. Excellent. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Yeah, budget for
I'm
structure.
pleased to be with you tonight. And with us too is
That's many
Interim School
dollars each.
Business Manager Trish Boyer, who has worked tirelessly and has become an invaluable member of the team. I'll speak briefly during my presentation about some of the work that she's doing, particularly with grants. What I'd like to do tonight is offer you some concrete steps that the school committee can take to address some of the fiscal issues we're experiencing. I know
Well, this should be
that
good.
there has been some concern
Some?
on the school committee, on the city council, from members of the public, that the challenges that we face have been discussed for some time.
Some?
But that we're looking for action. So what I will bring to you tonight are recommendations for specific steps that you, the school committee, can take to address some of the fiscal challenges we face.
This is
I
going to
will
be a
tell
good
you
one.
before I begin that some of these decisions are difficult. Some of them will require us collectively to make some realizations and some admissions. But I do believe that the time for action has come, and I'm here to recommend some steps to be taken to ensure
34 million
that the Brockton Public Schools
co-train.
and indeed
34.
the city of Brockton remain solvent moving forward.
Oh, this should be a good one.
So just to give you a very brief overview of the current situation. This is very similar to a slide that I provided to you a few months ago. We've operated collaboratively for some time now with the school and the city finance teams, not only meeting regularly, but working collaboratively. Members of my staff work very closely with member of Dr. Cobb's staff, with Trish. We have that integrated approach. We meet together, we share information. There is little distinction between the school and city finance teams, all in an attempt to try to bring some order and some consistency to the finances and to give you a full picture. And when I say you, I mean members of the school committee, members of the public, our faculty, our students,
Order
and
and
parents, everyone
consistency in the finances.
deserves to understand exactly what the situation is. At this point, I should tell you that, as I've stated before, that Open Architects has been also an invaluable partner in this. They were brought on by DESE at the beginning of the challenges that we faced. We have worked very, very closely with them.
Is this guy going to get to a point, or
Their contract with DESE is ending, and we have asked them for a scope of work. That scope of work has been reviewed by Dr. Cobbs and our team, by the city's legal team, by the procurement officer. And one of the definitive steps that I would suggest we need to do to move forward is to keep them on the team. One of the things we need to do is make sure that we have an FY25 budget that reflects your priorities. And I've said this to you many times. A budget is the most important policy statement of a community.
this is the biggest joke I've ever sat
It
through.
tells the public what a community
I
values.
feel like I'm watching
And so
like
it
a
should be
bad
reflective of your
episode of
values as the elected
Sat-
school committee members.
what is Saturday Night Live.
We're here on March 5th, and we need to be able to put together an FY25 budget that reflects those values and your priorities. Open Architects is a critical partner in
Holy
that.
Jesus.
And given the fact that
What
there is a
planet are we
reduced
on right
staff
now?
in the school finance office, having their support is critical. So I would urge you to urge Dr. Cobbs to move forward and address, execute that contract. So the current state of the FY24 budget, and nothing I'm saying here should be a surprise
Oh,
to
God.
anyone. We do have multi-million-dollar challenges in transportation, special education, and personnel. The team has worked closely, and we are identifying, and I know that once Open Architects provides their report to the Secretary of Education, it will be made available to the school committee and to the public. And so some of those specifics in very short order will be able to be discussed publicly with you.
I know, Ben.
But it is
We're
clear that
waiting.
because of those cost pressures, we need to identify savings so that we do
Oh, you
not
need to know where the
finish
money
FY24
went.
in a
34
similar,
million.
fashion that we finished FY23. One of the challenges, and this is a long-term challenge, is that we need to develop a new chart of accounts. That chart of accounts is essentially the accounting roadmap for the schools. So it sets forth different categories of spending so that we can accurately track how the money is being spent.
Good point,
and as we've
Tsunami.
discussed over the years, in fact, we now believe for as many as 10 years, the money has been kept in this 199 account, which was sort of a catch-all where money was placed and then dispersed. What we want to do
I'm gonna
moving
go back to
forward
this
is
comment.
have a budget where the actual budget in our accounting system reflects the budget that you vote in June. And so at any time, on any day, we can provide you with an accurate update of what the spending is.
Holy smokes.
We need to fix the model of how we manage grants, and I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And again, I believe we need to continue with Open Architects. So what I believe we need to do as a community.
I haven't seen one
and I've been in
number.
public service in both elected and appointed positions for 30 years.
Hey, they need to focus on
and
solutions. I
the
gotta
kind
put
of
that on a
strife
t-shirt.
that we see and the frustration that was expressed at the meeting last week.
Brockton
and
School
the
Committee, we need to
divisions,
focus
the very
on
divisions on
solutions.
this school committee. I believe all of that energy can and should be focused
Holy
into
shit.
finding solutions.
I feel like I'm in a
because
parallel
we
universe
clearly
right now.
have a public that cares deeply about this city and this school district, and members of the school committee who equally
Oh, good
care
Lord.
and want to find solutions.
Where
so
are
what
we?
I present to you tonight, members of the school committee and members of the public, are definitive solutions that I believe steps that you can take to save money, to put us in a strong position to finish FY24 in a very strong position, and to set us up, hopefully, to be able to present a balanced budget for 25 that maintains the core mission of educating students and also keeps the city in a strong financial position.
Oh God, he hasn't.
So I'm just going to.
Oh, here's some numbers finally, Ben. Here's some numbers.
I'm going to identify the challenge and then identify the solution. Our in-house transportation costs are clearly a
Here we
challenge.
go.
We've talked about them almost every meeting. I went back and looked at in December of 2020, when we were originally considering bringing the transportation in-house, there was a detailed estimate that we discussed, and those costs were estimated to be between 7.5 and 9 million per year, depending on how much the city invested in those buses. We now know, and this is just for what I'll call the yellow school buses, the big buses, that those costs are at least $12 million a year. So we far exceeded those estimates. The solution, I believe, we need to admit that we were wrong. And that's not easy to do for elected or appointed officials. But I believe that that model has not seen the benefits that it was proposed to see. And we need to at least explore other alternatives and at least explore going back to a model where we have contracted services. Maybe that'll work, maybe it won't. But I
When are we
believe,
gonna hear
and I
about
believe
security?
this strongly, we need to at least consider it. So one of the solutions, in addition to making a public admission that maybe we were wrong and maybe this wasn't a good idea, that we put out an RFP and determine what those costs would be to have contracted bus service. We put out an RFP, we're not obligated to award a bid, but we'll at least see what that amount will be and we can compare those costs. Dr. Cobbs and I were discussing this yesterday, and let me be clear, there's not unanimity amongst the team of these options. But what I said is it's healthy to discuss these things, to have disagreements, because it shows we're searching for options and we're trying to do something. And we are fulfilling our
Everybody
obligation to
disagrees.
lead in this community.
There's
So
no
I don't expect
collaborative
everyone
effort
to
here.
agree with the things I'm saying tonight. But what I do hope is that the things that I say will spark informed, respectful, deep discussions about what needs to be done for the future of this city. One of the options that we can pursue is, again, admitting that this option was not the best option and declaring those buses surplus, and they can either be sold for cash or the value of that can be rolled into a bus contract to reduce the overall cost. One very definitive thing we
Oh
can
my
do.
God.
The other huge cost pressure in transportation are the individual small vans that are transporting students. That's a very
Holy
necessary
God.
service that we can't
What
cut out.
planet am
But
I
the
on?
manner in which we deliver that service is broken and needs to be fixed. So there are more than 100 individual contractors that provide that service. And the method of those services are not contracts. They're what's called a letter of agreement. And I have copies here with me tonight that simply say between the Brockton Public Schools and a vendor that you're going to provide this service. There's no amount of the fee identified. There's no maximum amount identified. And so right now, those costs are more than $1 million per month that we're spending on this transportation. So we need to smash that paradigm. We need to, again, be willing to admit that this is not the best way to do it, explore other options. There are companies that may provide much, if not all, of that service at a much lesser cost. These agreements, most of them terminate on June 30th of 2024. I believe a definitive step that this committee can take would be to cancel those contracts and start over. We're talking millions of dollars in savings potentially between these two options. The personnel costs, as we know, are also a huge pressure. Now, let me be very clear. What I'm talking about here are not a reduction in personnel, but a change in the way we compensate some people. In my experience, and I have served in a couple of different communities
on the
as a town
solutions. I like
manager,
that.
we would offer employment contracts to 2, maybe 3 people. And on a municipal side, typically maybe a fire chief, a police chief, maybe a town accountant, or in this case, a city auditor. Under the law, you can offer those contracts. And on the city side, here in Brockton, that's about what we have, a police chief and a fire chief. There may be a couple others, but not many. In the Brockton Public Schools, there are individual employment agreements with more than 100, and this does not include our unionized workforce. These are non-union. I see some folks from the union nodding their head there. These are non-union employees, and there are over 100 employment agreements with them. Those are very valuable people. So let me be crystal clear. I don't want anyone walking away from this meeting saying that Troy said we should get rid of 100 non-union employees. That is not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that the method by which we compensate these people is extraordinary in its generosity, and is very inconsistent with the way similar people are compensated in other communities. Just to give you a couple of examples on this slide. There are people that have although they're non-union, their compensation in writing is based on the compensation that's afforded to union employees. And then on top of that, there are vacation times, sick buyback. If you don't use any sick time, you get $1,000. Educational incentives, and some of these are very valid pieces of compensation. But when you stack them, all of them, on top of one another, the costs become prohibitive, and it's one of the pressures that's really creating problems for us. There are provisions where employees get a retirement incentive. So if you announce that you're going to retire, you get an incentive for the last 3 years of your employment. But also, and this could be the same person, if you reach a certain milestone of service, then you also get an increase. And let me be clear, I know that there are people watching this, or maybe here in this room, that are impacted and receive this compensation, and they're going to be really upset with me that I'm mentioning this. But my job, I have a fiduciary duty to this city, to this mayor, to this school committee, to tell you the truth and to demonstrate what we need to do to put this city in a position to save itself.
Well, he's focusing on the solutions. He's focusing on
So
the
a definitive
solution.
action that can be taken is that all of these individual contracts I am recommending should be terminated as of June 30th. Again, that does not mean that all of the people get terminated. What it does mean is that their compensation
I'll
will
make
be
couches and put
consistent with their
focus on
brothers
the
and sisters on the
solutions.
city side whose benefits are determined by the city ordinances. That is an appropriate and fiscally responsible step
This
to
is
take.
unreal.
We haven't calculated the exact amount, but I am guessing that the savings there would be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So those folks would be employees at will and could still be employed and have good, long, fruitful careers like I have enjoyed. Now, there are other things we can do.
Oh, boy.
And this is something we've talked about. There's opportunities to combine city and school operations. There's formal methods to do that. The city council has talked about it. I know you've talked about it. I have overseen those sorts of mergers before in other communities where I've worked. I could very easily see the finance operations combining and all working together. Human resource, facilities. I mean, there are lots of opportunities. Those are more long-term discussions, but I put it up here so that it was clear that those are things we can do too to affect long-term savings, but as importantly, if not more so, long-term efficiency in the way we do business.
Thanks, Jeff.
We've talked a lot about grants over the last few months, and that is a huge issue that still is creating fiscal challenges for us. That expired grants are still accruing costs as of this day. Now, this is where I need to mention the incredible work that Trish Boyer is doing for a couple of months now. And she's working tirelessly in cleaning up those grants. And so I need to give that credit because her work is generally unseen, but it is not unappreciated. And the work that she's doing to contribute to that fiscal stability is absolutely incredible. But we need to do it long term. And so what this committee can do is pass a policy on grant management and set a date certain for us
Bad,
to
isn't it,
stop
Bob? I feel bad.
billing some of those costs to grants so that we have an end to that problem, and then we can deal with the outcome of it. And in that policy, I would strongly recommend that there be a coordinated effort for grant management. So the way things existed before, there was a grant writer in the school department, then there was a grant manager in the school department. And there was not necessarily when grants were being accepted, those grant folks didn't coordinate necessarily with HR, payroll, and finance, so that when employees were coming on that were being paid for by grants, there was not a concerted effort to understand how
I'm
much
just
they
wondering
should
how
be
they're going to
paid,
secure the
how
school
long
and
the
not
grant
have
was,
teachers
when it
be
expired,
injured
and when those
anymore.
people should come off of those grants. So this is a technical and highly specific project, but it's one that will definitely provide long-term benefits to the city. The final challenge is procurement. This is something we've talked a lot about. I think this is more than creating fiscal instability. It has created challenges for our local vendors, for the school in terms of obtaining services. The schools for a long time had a procurement person on the school side. That person retired, was replaced with someone who kind of did procurement but did other things. That person has left. And so right now we're having discussions about how to address that. But it absolutely is a pressing and dire need. Trish is spending a lot of her time on procurement that she could be spending on constructing a fiscal 25 budget or the other myriad responsibilities that she has. And so this is a real pressing need. But what this committee can do is execute a policy on procurement. All the procurement has to be done in collaboration with the city, because it has to be done under the auspices of the chief procurement officer, who happens to be an employee of the city. But it is a critical weakness right now that needs to be addressed. So those are definitive things that this committee can do.
Here's the
to increase the
solutions.
fiscal stability of this community, to demonstrate that together we are leading, we are actually focusing on solutions and trying to find things that'll move us toward a better tomorrow. As I close, and before I provide the next slide, I want to tell you, because many of you may not know this, I am a native Brocktonian. I was born here.
Oh,
My parents
now we're
both
gonna know
grew up
everybody's
here.
story.
My mom grew up on Plain Street. My dad grew up just down the street, around the corner from the Dairy Queen on
Yep,
Ash Street.
and you're not
So
doing
I
your
have
job,
strong
sir.
roots, and that's why I came to work here, because I care about this city. I have a stake in the success and the future of this city, and I want to be part of the solution.
You need to
But what I
stop
would
doing your
suggest
job.
tonight, and I mean this in a very positive and constructive way,
Oh,
but we are a proud city with a fighting history, right? We're named the City of Champions because two of the most famous fighters in the history of the United States were from here. So what I suggest tonight is that we put our energy into not fighting with one another, but fighting together for the future of Brockton. Thank you.
oh my God. Woo! I think I need a shower
Thank you,
after
Mr.
that
Clarkson.
one.
And before we open it up, just in terms of Open Architects, they concluded, again, their client was Desi, right? Their boss was Desi, just for those that are here today. Open Architects and Mr. Plant has been an invaluable resource, but he didn't work for BPS. He didn't work for the city. His team was hired by Commissioner Jeff Riley and paid for by Desi, and we're very thankful. But as of last Thursday, which was the 29th of February, Desi has concluded services. They were charged to look at 24 fiscal year, 25, 26. He will be coming back to us. I know Mr. Clarkson mentioned that the Secretary of Education, who was in Brockton today, and I want to thank Anna and Tony for being there with me and some of the other team today. Secretary of Education is working with Desi right now as well. So Mr. Plant was not able to come tonight. He told us that earlier, but he will be coming back. He also is advocating for steps to be done. This committee as a whole to direct superintendent to come up with some cost analysis. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy, but we have a duty to do it, and we have to do it. I've already asked Dr. Cobbs many times, look with your cabinet, look with your team. We have to look at every penny. We have to look
That's
at
the
every
mayor
penny.
right there.
We have to look at reductions. We have to
That's
look at
him.
costs. We have to look at containment
If you are
measures.
disgusted
On the city
at how
side,
he's
I've done that
handling the
as mayor.
situation, you can
All my
tweet at him
department
and let
heads
him
have
know.
hiring
Bob
freeze
Sullivan,
right now.
MA, at
In-state,
Bob
out-of-state
Sullivan,
travel
MA.
freeze right now. There's a freeze relative to training and conferences. I even canceled the Boston Globe and Boston Herald paper edition because every penny, yeah, I know, every penny counts. But this committee, we were all sworn in together on January 1st. This committee has the institutional integrity. We all love Brockton, and we will get there, but we have to make sure that we come out of tonight with directives.
A lot of
for
word
Dr. Dawes
salad.
and his team. I'm going to open it up now for Mr. Clarkson, any of the membership. Ms. Azak, please.
Thank you, Mr. Clarkson. So I just have a question. When we first, this was years ago, a few years back, we started discussing bringing in our own transportation company. We were paying, I believe, $12 million to lease them, where we own them now. And we pretty much paid that in 1 year. So to turn around and sell them, we were under the impression it was going to be, I believe, a 3-year, correct me if I'm wrong, but we should start seeing the profits now because our buses have been purchased. We have staff on hand. I'd like to see what it's to bring in an outside company and go back to where we were before. We were paying that to lease. And every year when I first came on the committee, I want to say it was $68,000 a bus. Didn't matter if it was a large bus or a small bus. And last I knew, I think it was in the 90s per bus, high 90s. So they just kept going up and up and up. So to purchase the transportation company, it was supposed to save us money. And for us to turn around and sell it, I would really like to look at those numbers because we should be, now it should be a profit where we, we've only had the buses 3 years. I think 3 full years, two and a half maybe. Yeah, 2.5. So I think at the end of the 3rd year, Mr. Petronio, I mean, I can go back and look at old meetings, but I know it was going to be a few years before we started seeing a profit. So rather than leasing them, we own them. We were paying $12 million a year to lease. So I just want the committee, like the new members that might not be as familiar, to turn around and sell them. I would really like to look at the numbers before we make such a large decision to go back to signing a contract. And I don't want to mention the company at the time, but they just kept going up and up on us. And that was leasing compared to owning. It was the same amount of money.
I wholeheartedly agree. I was here then, and I was part of those discussions. I went back today and pulled out the memo from December of 2020 that gave that exact calculation. So I think
No one knows how to do
historically,
their job.
You're absolutely correct. What I suggest is that we have that robust discussion.
This is
And-
the finance
and look
manager.
back. Now, did we make the right decision? Are those numbers
Right.
accurate?
You're
What would
right,
the
Ben. That's
contract
exactly what
cost
I
now?
just said.
Could we save money? It's possible the answer is no. It's possible the answer is yes. And so I'm trying to set us up to be willing to have that conversation and be prepared to make a decision that says maybe we did make a mistake. And so the only way we
God.
can find that out
This poor
is
community.
if you ask us to bring you those
Look at the
figures so
leadership
that
here.
you can
It's
make an informed
awful.
decision.
Well, I'd like to request that we get, see what the payroll is as far as our staff that, well, they're employees now, our drivers and the staff, the administrative staff.
Oh my
Take a look at
God.
insurance,
Poor
things
community.
like that, the insurance for the vehicles, maintenance. We really shouldn't have that much maintenance. They're brand new buses. And a lot of the stuff should be under warranty. I just know just leasing was so expensive that this was always on our wish list for years. And, one of the positives through COVID was to acquire our own transportation company. We were able to get the funds. So I would like, those are a couple of items that I'd like. Staffing, what is that costing us? And as far as the extras, insurance, workman's comp, things like that, unemployment, all the expenses that come with having your own employees for the transportation company. And I'd also like to see where are we now with the transportation company that we used previously because they were the only ones that had enough fleet. They were the only ones that had enough buses to serve what Brockton. We have a lot of schools. What are we, over 200 buses now? And we have the vans and stuff. So we have a lot. So I would like to look at that because I think a lot of the items are being sent over to the private contracts, whereas we were supposed to get away from that. And that's why we were acquiring a lot of the smaller vans and the smaller buses. Believe it or not, those that are watching, the large buses cost the same as the small buses. And that's mind boggling that it's double the size and it's the same price. So we did bring on a lot of the vans and the white minivans.
They're
and
just
things like
school
that.
board
So
members.
I'd be more than happy to reach out to you. Just
Okay, get to
really
a
look
point
at it.
here.
even if it's another year, it's supposed to be, it was supposed to help us save instead of leasing.
All right, we got the point.
And I know there was grants a couple of years ago. There was grants at the Mass Conference for the electric buses. And I'm pretty sure we probably would have qualified for them given the size of our district. So there's a lot of stuff that's out there. We can try to see what's out there
Newman.
to help Brockton.
It's Newman.
But they are brand new buses. And I think they're
Okay.
a little less than 3 years old. So we should have warranties still on them. I'd like to know how long the warranties last on our buses. I'd be more than happy to reach out to you.
Wonderful.
He's
Thank
probably
you.
drawing stick
Thank you,
figures.
Mr. Azak. Mr. Gomes, please.
I had a similar question or thought on the buses. I'm not aware of the details of the purchase that was made, but I was going to ask if we could have the figures for both so we can compare those.
Absolutely.
Also thought it would be cost effective if we had our own, so we're not paying for those every year, but rather have our own drivers. Of course, we're going to have to pay for maintenance and things like that, but it should be less. And things that I was thinking about while you were mentioning that is that with these contracts is they can increase the price every year if they wanted to. If we want the service, we're going to have to pay. And with our own buses, we, as long as we maintain those, it should be okay. And we're only paying for the drivers and, insurance and things like that. So if we could have the numbers, that would be great to see the pros and cons. One thing that came to mind, and I don't know if we be able to look at is, for instance, for TJ, don't we have to do a procurement to work with them if it were to become a...
No, there are vendors that are on what's called a state bid list. And so our procurement office and the law office have both looked at the opportunity to bring Open Architects on directly. And they've both opined that can be accomplished.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gomes. Mrs. Ehlers, please.
Thank you. Thank you. I just have a couple things. One of the things that I feel like has been the vibe, if you will, the conversation since I came on is that the estimate for transportation originally was done incorrectly, or that it wasn't a true feasibility study because there was a lot of factors that were not considered. One, including the fact that we still don't have a bus depot if we buy all these buses, and we can't afford a bus depot right now. And so as much as I hate to admit we were wrong, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but at the same time, we're not still fully complete in our transportation department. It's not working, and we don't have a bus depot. And so I kind of feel like at this point, we really do need to look at what is it going to cost us to get out of this, even if we try to consider it at a later date, because right now we have an incomplete transportation department and we can't afford to complete it. And so I think we need to get real with what our expenses are. And in looking at all the school pay code summaries that come through, I challenge the 12 million plus, to be honest with you, that it's even higher than that. I mean, I don't know if you can speak to that, Mr. Clarkson, but I honestly feel like there's a bigger variance between 7.5 to 9 million to 12 million for transportation. I feel like the non-net spending in that number it may average 12, but it feels like it's been higher in some years. Am I completely off?
No, I think you're correct. And again, one of the challenges that we faced is because some of the costs are not all clearly captured in traditional budget lines that we could easily track. And so one of the valuable things that Open Architects has been able to do
at
is to
Brockton
really drill
Fairground?
down into the details.
Wow.
And this is probably a good time to state that Open Architects is not TJ Plant. He is a vital member of that team, but he has a team of financial analysts and grant specialists and data
34 million.
analyzers who are behind the scenes that we don't see on the Zooms that are developing all of this information for us. So they've drilled down into the detail. Just this evening, we got an email that's looking at this current year's budget and identifying costs that we can bring to the cabinet to be able to save some funds this year and finish the year strongly. And so they started out at lines that were where there was 70 or 80, 90% available from your report.
Yep.
And then brought that down to 75. And so we're looking at bringing all of those funds to bear and having a robust discussion with the cabinet and with Dr. Cobbs about where can we redirect funds so that the funds can be spent on their main focus, and that is on teachers in the classroom. And so having that update of the chart of accounts, it sounds kind of like esoteric, but it's really critical to be able to have a budget where you could say to me or to Trish on any given day, what have we spent so far? And we can accurately tell you.
Well, and that chart of accounts also is, for lack of a better phrase, our roadmap to data-driven decision-making and to base our decisions on where we see the fiscal gaps, correct?
That's exactly right.
Okay, and I just, to be clear, I don't disagree with my colleague, Ms. Azak. I think before we make any kind of decision at all, something of this grand, we should be looking at it like from all different perspectives. But it's just one of those things where at this point, we are like a family that has to make the decision to say, we just can't afford it. Like, this is the year we can't afford it, or that's going to have to be kicked to next year. And those are some of the tough decisions that are just going to have to be made. But thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Ms. Oliver, please.
I have one comment. I don't know if you can hear me, but I think there's a pattern of signing contracts with no fee. I think we just love signing contracts and not identifying how much we're paying these people. We're spending $1 million a month on this contract. Do you have an invoice of how much we're paying this individual's contract?
Yeah, I don't have them here with me, but I mean, that's all information that we can share with you. What I brought with me was a list, and this is obviously all public information, provided by the Transportation Department.
$1 million a
list
month?
of the vendors and their typical amount that are being billed per month. And it's just over $1 million. So
You don't have to give me a company name. Can you give me like from one company how much they charge for like a month?
it ranges from $600 a month to $23,000 a month to $9,300 a month. And so that's one of the challenges, is that the structure that was set up lends itself to uncontrollable costs. And I think that's, again, that's where the committee can come in. And let me be clear, this is not a reflection on Dr. Cobbs. This method of proceeding was in place when he took over. But it's something that we've highlighted as a very serious area that needs to be addressed, because it's the costs are out of control.
Do we know how many small buses do we have that belongs to us?
We do. I don't know off the top of my head, but I can get that information for you.
62 buses.
About 62
Small
buses. And how many in a day that we use other vendors?
Seriously,
we frequently, most of the small vendors that do the door-to-door transportation for special education,
Mhm.
as well as the out-of-district transportation, we don't use our buses, yellow buses for that. So
I'd like to have in a week, how many of our buses that we use and how many of the vendors we use.
we use all of our buses all week, every day, but we don't have enough. Like Kathy said, we don't have enough yellow buses.
Yeah, I would like to know who was if there's a way to find out who was signing those contracts, to just signing them and not put a number in there. It would be interesting to find out. Thank you.
Before I go back to Mr. Gomes, Mr. Sullivan, you haven't asked a question yet.
Thank you, Mr. Coxon. I just wanted to point out that before, when 2019, 2020, when we were looking at these contracts, to buy these buses, things were a lot cheaper then, before COVID. So cost.
Oh my God. These people are going to address the violence?
Going up every year. And it seemed like a really good idea when we looked at it. So, Mr. Claxon, how would we control the uncontrollable costs that you mentioned?
Well, so there's two separate operations here, and that's why I had two separate slides. There's the regular yellow bus transportation, and I think the message that I'm hearing is we should really do a deep analysis and come back to you with actual costs for our owning and operating the buses and what the potential costs might be for contracted out. The other is the smaller vans. And I think one of the ways
It's
to
very
curb
legal
those
here.
costs is, first of all, to establish a fee for service contract with those vendors. So if you take a student from Brockton to the Cardinal Cushing School in Hanover, the fee is prescribed at X, and the parties agree that that's the fee. What's in place now is, if you take a student from Brockton to Cardinal Cushing, send me an invoice and let me know what you think we should pay you. And so that's resulting in that $1 million a month. And I want to say again, because there are employees who work in the transportation department and were very hardworking, dedicated folks. They're working under a paradigm that was presented to them. So we, as the leaders, need to smash that paradigm and create a different structure so that those costs are not out of control. But right now, there is no way, and we will provide those agreements to you. There's no way to predict or control costs, because essentially those they are not contracts. They are letters of agreement for providing a service. And so I think there's a much tighter, cost-controlled, more responsible way we can engage contractors to provide those services.
Thank you.
Mr. Sullivan, followed by Mr. Rodriguez, please.
Thank you, Mr. Clarkson. On your multi-million-dollar challenges page, 2024 budget, it talks about the challenges of transportation, special education, and personnel. What personnel are you talking about on that? Is that the transportation personnel?
No, in this context, it was those individual contracts that I spoke of in the later slide, that those cost of contracts that provide extraordinarily generous benefits.
So you're not talking about special education teachers?
No, absolutely not. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez, please.
Transportation. I love it. The reason why I love it is because when we first opened this transportation company, I did spend some time over there seeing what's going on. We did request an audit of that transportation. We did vote it in. We did request it prior to the two members coming in. To
Another
have an
audit
to make
that
sure
probably never got done.
If the transportation department is actually functioning properly. Are we overstaffed, understaffed, and how to save some funds there? Just a little bit of a history is that at the 11th hour, the owner of the property pulled out on a contract for us to actually have a bus depot, which would have saved the district millions of dollars, including facilities. When we talk about the vendor contracts, I've seen those vendor contracts. There's about 278 of them. I think that when we started this transportation department, is that it was failed leadership and the people that were making the decisions there, because a school principal is not a transportation director. A mechanic is not a transportation director. So that's what the problem is. The one-on-one contracts, what we say the small vendors that do the door-to-door or in-district, after speaking to somebody that's in charge there.
Be right back.
If the district was to change a certain tier 1 to 2, it will save it will save $3 million. $3 million alone, just changing it by a 15-minute margin. But then we have to negotiate with the union. So that's something that the union really needs to think about, because we are in a budget deficit now. In district transportation alone, students that should be transported by our yellow buses is on private vendors, which is about $20,000 a day. So just add that up. Out of district, not this body, but the body before, I'm glad I voted no against it. I'll stand on it every time. You eliminated programs that created out of district placement, which increased those transportation costs, and that wasn't vetted out. So those are where the cost actually increased. Also, with those vendors, the first contract that I pulled up and I read was very concerning of who had that contract. It's like it was a criminal enterprise. And I didn't even go through it. It was just the first one. It's very easy to figure out who these individuals are. And when you look at that contract, I'm like, where's the dollar sign? Like what are you providing? You just send the bill. Like, I mean, that's crazy. So that's one of the main focuses, is looking at who has these contracts. I spoke to Dr. Cobbs about this to get a grasp on it. Also, our transportation department made over $1 million just in chartering our buses. We purchased those buses to make us money. Where the hell did that $1 million go? Those are one of the things that definitely needs to be looked at. It's under the superintendent. I don't have that authority, because if I did, some of those contracts that are questionable with certain names on them, certain names, trust me, those should be eliminated tomorrow. Very concerning. And this body is going to know who they are. The audit's going to show who they are. The voters are going to know who they are, if you get my drift. But I don't think it's, for us to take. I don't think it's feasible for us to just make
finance manager's looking a little scared right now.
To make a decision now. We have legal counsel here. I think this body needs to speak to our legal counsel, because it's very concerning how I see things. It's not like I'm just pulling it out of a hat. This is facts. It's in black and white. You can't hide that. You cannot hide that. So it really needs to be vetted. We can't just make a decision now, obviously, of let's get rid of our transportation department because we didn't have a bus depot, or we have people that are giving out contracts doing door-to-door
That guy
service
is
because they want to
scared.
take care of their buddies. That's not what this was made for. In that in district specifically, where our transportation company should
The
be
answer to the question's
transporting
not
our
going to
own
be in those
students,
papers,
it's a
pal.
big cost. So if you could take $3 million off that, and the million, minus $4 million for
He's
whatever
trying to
the
look for the answer in those papers. Yep.
So
There's no answer. It's not there.
One of the crazy things, and you know what's something that, it resonates
Look at
with
him.
me as
He's
well.
trying to find it.
Now I know why that audit wasn't done
What
when
can
we
I
requested
say?
it a couple of years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. I have a couple questions as well. Relative to the vendor contracts, it says terminate all contracts June 30th, 2024. Do you know when notice has to be given? Does it have to be given June 1, 30 days before?
So I did, anticipating these types of questions, I printed out, not all of them, because there are over 100 of them. But most of these letters of agreement follow a template. And so I have 3 or 4 of them in my hand here. And I believe Dr. Cobbs is correct. There is a provision here that says either party may terminate this contract upon 30 days notice. And so, and it
thanks,
does,
Kristen. I appreciate
then it
it.
says dates. So it
Did
doesn't-
Sean just end, or is he still
dates July
going?
1, 2023 to June 30, 2024.
Sean will be with me on
So
Thursday.
I believe, but certainly defer to legal counsel, that you have the flexibility to
Yeah,
terminate
the mayor
some of
sucks.
these agreements. Obviously, the district still has an obligation to provide transportation. So I'm not suggesting you do that tonight. What I am suggesting is we take a very serious look at these, and that's why I
Still going?
suggested
Okay, cool.
June 30th. But if we feel as though some can be eliminated before then, and I will say in response to Mr. Rodriguez, the vendors are a matter of public record, and I'm happy to provide to the committee a list of the current vendors, because it's a matter of public
Oh,
record.
no problem,
Who
Ben.
we pay this money to, and so I will gladly do that.
The other question I have is what would be the harm in seeking out bids and RFPs? I mean, we could have Mike Morris, our procurement
I'm
officer.
just wondering when
Mike's
they're
a
going to
Brockton
address the
High grad,
violence.
right?
When are they
He's
addressing the
been
violence?
Working for the city.
Did
since
that
January
memo
units.
go out in this
What
meeting?
would be the harm in that? I mean, I think we have to be proactive
I got to look
now.
at the agenda.
Get the RFP that's going to give us a cost containment measure, right? It's going to give us something to compare and contrast against. In terms of these, I'll put my lawyer hat on, I'll take the mayor hat and throw it over there. I've never heard of a
Should
letter
take the
agreement
mayor
that
hat
does
off
not
and throw
have
it over there.
compensation defined within it.
Should
I've
never
just
have it back on
heard of that
again.
in my legal career. So I think we, as a committee, 8 of us, I'll put the hat back on now. We have a fiduciary duty
What's
to the
the
voters
agenda?
that we represent to direct Dr. Cobbs, who reports to us, that we have to do something. We have to do something. To seek bids for a single provider or several large, that may solve the issue. And I was 2 hours last night, Mr. Clarkson, I was before the city council. I know Councilor at Large was here, Darren Court, I want to thank him for being here, but you know, when I say this, 19 of us, right? 7 here, myself and 11 over there, we have to come together. But only the 8 of us right now can control BPS in the budget. So we have to think outside the box. We have to act tonight. We have to tell Dr. Cobbs to do that. I've worked with him a lot. He's ready, willing, and able to work with us. But there's no harm in asking Mr. Morris tomorrow, the procurement officer, get an RFP out there. Let's see what it is. Get some bids out there relative to the vans. Because if we don't have those responses, we're competing against ourselves. The other question I have is, and I want to thank you, Ms. Boyer, for jumping in, and you live in Brockton. I want to thank that. You didn't have to take this job, but the grants, I just had a couple of questions. I know you're vetting them out every single day, 10%, 15%, 20%. In terms of grants that were never closed out, and this isn't my skill set, so I'm relying on you.
That's right, Bob.
How do we close them out, right? Because some are probably state grants, some could be federal grants. How do we close them out as a district? And then what's the ramifications of that? Because if they should have been closed out several years ago, or several fiscal years ago, we need to do it.
Right. So I ran a list of all of the grants in the district, and there were probably about 11 or 1,200 grants that had built up over the years. This goes back to 2010. Out of those grants, there were 830 that had a zero balance. So I put one of the finance staff members on it to start going into the munis accounting system and closing the grants, inactivating those 830 grants. Each grant has between 4 or 5 line items. Some have up to 20 line items. So it's not that she's closing out 830 lines. She's closing out 830 grants that have between 5 and 20 line items each.
Okay.
So there's thousands of line items that she's inactivating. That's in the process now. The other 230 or so grants remaining, there are a handful that are in a deficit. And those are the ones that I'm working on. All of the grants that still have a balance are the ones that I'm working on. So I'm starting with the grants that have a deficit balance. And some of those are multi-year grants, which means that the staffing that was paid out of a particular grant in FY23 should have been rolled over to come out of the new 24 grant, but that never happened. So now I'm changing the staff. So they're still coming out of 23 grants, causing this deficit. So I'm moving the staff to come out of the correct grant. That's clearing up most of the deficits. And then there are some grant deficits that have a positive balance in them that should have been closed out years ago.
Oh my God.
Some of them we can still spend. Some have a positive balance of maybe a few $100s, and I'm contacting all the grant managers to tell them you have this much money left, spend it ASAP, because we have to close those out. And some of them are balances that were probably due to the Department of Ed.
Paybacks.
And not returned to the Department of Ed. So I'm going to put that list together.
Can you give, when you calculate that, could you give the hard figure to us?
Absolutely.
Because we don't want to give any penny back if we don't have to. But if we're
Right.
obligated legally, we have to. But the hard number
Exactly.
would be important.
Exactly. I will do that.
And
Yes.
and did I take this note right? Did you say it goes back as far as the year 2010? 2010.
Yes.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you.
That's 14
Mr.
years
Rose
of
had a follow-up,
mismanagement.
Followed by Ms. Azak, please. Thank you, Ms. Boyer.
I'm gonna go back a little bit in terms of the contracts. First, it's very absurd that we have all these contracts, especially with no dollar amount. Similar to how people put us in this position, because not everybody can be here all at once to make all these decisions, but they expect us to act on their behalf.
Yeah, right, Drew.
When we put someone in a position to oversee whether transportation, hiring personnel, we expect them to go in with the professionalism and the knowledge to know what they're doing and what's supposed to be done. So it's very upsetting to hear that The other thing too, not only do we have a lot of contracts with no dollar amount, we have vendors that have no contract with us. And I did note it in the meeting that we had previously where we denied paying roughly 150 grand of invoices that came in because a lot of those were from about 2 years earlier. And there were no contracts, there were no signed agreement, what work was done, how much was charged, did we accept or not? And I'm glad you came back and thank you. I know last time I did ask if we could look for those contracts. If not, then to contact the vendor and see what happened or what was provided to us. And I wanted to ask if you guys were able to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Gomes.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Boyer, do you have an update on that one? We were at the Rum Little Theater that night.
Okay, and what was the question? Can you repeat the question?
So we had a list of invoices that came in.
Oh,
it was
yes.
roughly 150 grand.
Yes.
And we denied paying those because a lot of them
Correct.
did not have contracts or signed agreements.
Correct.
And it was about 2 years late,
Yes.
basically.
So we're still holding them. There's a few of them that we find that we can pay, but not a lot. But I understand I received an email from the legal office at City Hall that they can be approved by being voted by City Council. So we're putting the list together to see if City Council will pay for some of them. Otherwise, we can't pay them.
Oh, hold on. So even if we deny paying these because there's no agreement, nothing, they can still get paid.
Well, it would have to go before to City
Uh-huh.
Council
Well, I'm
first
sure,
and then to
Lisa.
you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that they
Okay.
overrode you.
But so even if City Council approves it, does the school district have to pay for those?
If you decide to pay them, yes.
So we could still say no
You
because there
can.
is no contract, no proof of
They have nothing.
work that was performed, correct?
Yes, and in these cases, I would not say that the work or the supplies were not done or supplied to us. I think the problem is that there weren't contracts. There weren't signed contracts, things like that. So all the things that should have happened in procurement over the last few
Thanks,
years
B Legend. Appreciate it.
has not been dotting the i's and crossing the t's.
And have we communicated with the vendors to see why the delay in submitting those invoices?
Yes, some of them have said that they've sent invoices. A lot of invoices come through email now rather than through the regular mail. And in one particular case, they were going to a staff member who no longer worked for the district. So they were going into an empty email.
Great.
Or an unlooked at email.
Have we
Good
done
job.
anything to make sure that doesn't happen or to have at least a centralized email to receive all these invoices so anybody can access and say, hey, this is an invoice that just came in and have not been paid?
Yes, I'd like to have an accounts payable email address set up for that purpose so that it's not assigned to one particular person. It's assigned to anybody in accounts payable who
Okay.
can open that email.
Thank you.
Or they just don't know how to manage them.
My other question goes back to the grants. So for the ones 130 grants that are being deactivated, which they all had line items, what are we doing with those? Are we moving them to a different account? Had they been redirected so they can, for instance, if a grant had staff members that were getting paid out of those grants, but we're deactivating them, are they getting moved to a different account so they can still get paid and that can be tracked down?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all my question. Thank you.
Just point of information, Mr. Gomes, it could only go before the city council if the mayor files an order with the city council. I'm not going to file anything until the lawyers vet that out. They don't have a contract, they don't have a contract. I'm not trying to put people out of business, but that's what contracts are for.
Exactly.
So I just want to let you know that.
Thank you.
Follow up, Ms. Azak, please.
You, just to, I had a couple of questions, now it's 3. So to follow up to Mr. Gomes, I believe, I'm not sure if it was our council that had mentioned it, but I believe the vendors had a year where they're dealing with the city budget to submit their invoices. I guess if they submitted them on time, we would have to, as a committee, go back and look at that. They did submit them, they were going to an empty email. I would definitely like to see who those were, rather than waiting 2 years. My question, like, because that threw me off. Mr. Clarkson.
Holy shit.
The private companies, the contracts. One, I thought years ago we had a bid review where they came they submitted bids for the private transportation. Okay. I'm not sure. I could have sworn years ago they did, because I know it's it's a packet of information they have to submit, get approved. It's a long process. So to have so many of them, that's just, that's a lot. Okay. So you have the list of the vendors. I would like to see end of year, who were the vendors, and I'd like to see what we paid each vendor for the year.
Okay.
Because again, to just reiterate what Mr. Rodriguez said is our transportation company was supposed to be making us money. We were going to be able to let people rent them out. We have them for our athletics, our our music, all the sports, different things within within Brockton Public Schools. So it was going to save us money, and we were going to be able to rent them out to others that wanted to rent them out for events and stuff. So if we could just see what the vendor list is, and I'd like to know 2023. What did we pay all those vendors? Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Azak. Ms. Oliver, please follow up.
So the contract ends on June 30th, but we don't have to terminate it by June 30th. We just have to give them 30 days notice.
June 30th anyway, but some of them, we can give them 30 days before June 30th.
So if we have 278 out there, we can slash it in probably like 75%. And
Right.
like 30 days, give them notice.
Right, but well, the other thing about terminating 30 days or expiring June 30th is, just because we have a vendor doesn't mean we have to give them any business. We can just direct the business to whoever we decide to.
True, but I would like to terminate them.
Right, well, we will, but I'm just saying,
Okay.
in between, just because we have them on contract doesn't mean we have to give them,
So last year, just to give you a perspective, they were $1.4 million over budget. When you look at that balance sheet, they approved an increase of $1.4 million, and the budget in fiscal 23. Let's see. No, I'm sorry. Fiscal 23 budget was $6,100,000, and in 2024 their budget went up $1.4 million. They requested it and approved it to the dollar. $7,541,463. Where'd all that extra money go? Where'd all that extra money come in from? Whew.
Are other costs, other sources of the circuit breaker that can address some of those costs, and some of those costs are supported by the non-net spending. So there are a variety of funding
Anybody
sources.
wants to see
and
the
you'll
budget,
see when
I'll drop the link.
TJ is able to make that formal presentation to you about the fiscal 24 costs. Many of those are transportation costs well in excess of the amount that was appropriated. And I can tell you some of those sources to address some of those deficits will be McKinney-Vento and Circuit Breaker.
It's crazy.
And other available sources.
Oh, I'm sure.
So McKinney-Vento is being used right now?
Yes,
Okay.
but only for the purposes for which it was intended.
Right.
And I believe homeless students, I'm still learning some of the jargon on the school side, but I believe that the McKinney-Vento funds are available also for homeless student transportation.
Correct. Thank you.
Ms. Azak, follow up, please.
Sorry, it's more of just a question. So how long do you think it'll take to get this information?
3 years.
On the vendors?
Just, well, the vendor list, but as far as like the transportation.
3 years.
What it was when we were.
Sometime next year.
The cost, just.
And
so we
everybody
can-
forgets about it.
We have these meetings, but we got to get the info. We got to move on it. It's.
We only
spinning
got 4
our-
months. We got 4 months
Yeah,
left in the budget.
I'm tired of spinning our tires here. Like, we got to get stuff done.
Oh,
No, I don't mean it towards you, but it's
I
like.
agree.
So if we could
Spinning
just-
our tires, though, that was a good.
Spinning out, perfect, spinning our tires. But if we can just pick a date, so we have it in our calendar, we have a meeting scheduled, we have a lot to cover.
Agreed. So the information on the van transportation we can have with you for you in a day or two by the end of the week.
Okay, in our packets, that's fine.
Yeah, because that's all readily available information. The analysis on the yellow school buses is a little more involved and is going to take not only gathering information, but analyzing it. So I would ask for at least a couple of weeks to really develop an in-depth report that's valuable to you.
Okay, so first week in April?
Yeah, I think
First
that's
week in April,
reasonable.
if we can schedule transportation. Sorry to be pushy, but it's just, we have a lot to cover and we really need to schedule these while we're all together and get them in the book. So first week of April.
No
April 2nd?
communication.
It's a Tuesday? April 2nd?
Yeah.
April 2nd?
That okay, April 2? April 2?
April 2nd?
I'm going to ask the school committee members, my fellow school committee members, if we can take a vote to direct the superintendent to work with Mike Morris, again, the city procurement officer, for two endeavors. One is to put an RFP out to determine costs for the contracted services for the in-house transportation, right? Let's just get that on the street. Let's just see what the variables are. The second one is for the contracted transportation, seek bids for single provider or several large providers. And again, we would ask, because the schools don't have a procurement officer, we'd ask Dr. Cobbs to work with Mike on that. I would respectfully ask that we take a vote on that so he could start working with Mike tomorrow on both of those endeavors. It's the will of the committee?
Just, can we just get clarified? So that's
Oh
just
my
to see
God.
what's out there. We're not.
Yeah, no,
okay,
I mean.
Just to see what's out there.
Yeah.
We're not gonna enter into anything.
No, we can't,
Okay.
I think putting an RFP on the street is gonna give us some cost analysis, right? Might be off the charts, but at least we have something to go with. And then the bids are the same thing for the contracted. Let's just see what's out there, because if not, what are we gonna compare it to?
No, absolutely. All right, fine, thank you.
Is there a motion just to direct Superintendent Cobbs to work with City Procurement Officer Mike Morris for the two things. The RFP for the in-house transportation to determine costs for contractual services. And the other
Yeah.
one is to seek bids for a single provider or several large providers, and that's for the contracted transportation, the vans. Those are the two different things.
Contracted service, you mean the yellow buses, like we have it for first student prior? Because it's.
That's who the previous provider was, yeah.
Yes, Jody.
So it's an RFP for the.
I'm
yellow
just
buses
wondering where they're
and-
gonna
and
address the
another one for
violence.
The private transportation for the
Yeah,
smaller.
whatever the procurement officer says how to do it.
Right.
So I make a motion to put an RFP out there for Superintendent Cobbs to work with
Mike Morris
to get the, an RFP.
Yep. For the in-house transportation costs.
the in-house
And then we could just say an
transportation
RFP for the contracted transportation costs.
And the contracted transportation costs.
Second.
Home of a motion by Mr. Sullivan, second by Mr. Sullivan. I'll just read the roll. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. Ayers?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes? Yes. Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. And I will text Mike Morris tonight to expect.
Text him,
a
not call the
from
guy.
Cobbs tomorrow.
Not call him.
Any additional?
Send him a
Ms.
text, like a
Rodriguez, please?
12-year-old. Important business decision here, and he's just gonna
Knowing that
send
you
him a
had
text.
depleted Workforce. How is your
Holy
office
shit.
structured now? Have you come up with a plan? Are we waiting for TJ to present this to see what support you need in that finance office to make
I'll send
sure
him a
that
text.
all
Not
these
call the
numbers are
guy.
adding up and-
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, knowing that, what's the structure now? Like, obviously you're short-staffed, yes?
Yes,
So what is the magic number?
for staff.
Yes.
So
She has no idea.
when I've been on for 2 months and I lost 2 people in
It's the
that time.
excuses.
So we are about to hire a financial analyst. We've interviewed for that position, so that will be replacing one person. Another one was an administrative person, which we're not replacing at this time. We're looking at a procurement officer to come on board soon, and we're looking for a grants administrator to come on soon. We're doing interviews for all of those, so we'll have 2 to 3 staff members shortly, I hope.
So what would that be, like 7, 8, or is that less than
That
that?
would total 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, not including me. And I'm just interim, so I'm not there for a long time.
Yeah, don't blame it on me. I'm out of there. Look at her. I'm out.
The
I'm
other thing
out.
too
Like
that
Janetti.
I
I'm
want
out.
to know is specifically like our BEF account. Can you draft that up? I want to know exactly
I'm out.
how much money, how did money come in, how did money go out, and every account, you know, that the school district has, and what money we have in there.
Mhm.
And, you know,
Absolutely. I just want to go back to to your previous question. So that would be 7 or 8 staff members, but we're still missing the 2 that are out on administrative leave. So those are 2 big, heavy positions that are still not filled.
well, thank you.
Ms. Azak, follow up, please.
Thank you. So, Mr. Clarkson and Mrs. Boyer. So I know we've run into an issue with not having contracts, whether it's vendors. We really need to get those contracts, and there's a couple that we've brought to your attention. We're getting services and we don't know what we're getting charged.
Oh my God. This is the
So
worst
it's like we really need
committee.
to buckle
They
down
have
on
no
those,
communication.
and they're pretty sizable contracts. Well, they're pretty sizable invoices that we get. So if we can try to get those contracts wrapped up, I'd be happy to remind you.
Great, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Oh my God.
Any additional? Hearing a visit is already concluded. I'm sorry. We can't. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm sorry. Under the process. One other thing that I think we need to talk about, and I just mentioned it to
That was
Dr.
someone from
Cobbs,
the
and we
public.
talked about this as committee as well. So there's all these, contracts and all that stuff, but we also have real estate leases that we have to terminate. We have to be able to bring some of those folks into our city/school buildings. We have to figure that out. Dr. Cobbs is working on that with his cabinet, but we're spending a lot of money right now on certain locations, and we can terminate those and bring them to some of the Goddard School is a good example that is still under care and custody of the school. So
What's the,
just want to remember that we're spending a lot of money on
Footnotes
rent,
for
and some
dummies,
of that
right?
can be terminated. and I know
Chatham,
Dr. Cobbs
footnotes
is
for
working on it.
dummies.
Any other matters relative to this tonight? Thank you. You have a follow-up, Mr. Sullivan?
So what they
Yes,
did
I
is
do.
they put public comments all the way to the beginning of the
Troy
meeting.
Clarkson, this is one of your bullet points, to hire a procurement officer. That should be done tonight, or do you have a date on that?
I couldn't hear. Tim, some people couldn't hear you. Could you ask that question one time? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It was about the
seriously, there was an
procurement
assault.
officer. It's in this bullet point that we need to hire one.
Unbelievable.
The question is, does that have to be done tonight or at a later date?
So I think I would say that that's in process. I actually have a meeting with the mayor and some of our city staff to discuss how we might make that work. We've had some conversations with Dr. Cobb. So I think that is in the works, but I wanted to highlight it as really important because as I mentioned earlier, there is only one chief procurement officer, and that is Mike Morris, who can delegate that authority, who can supervise the work, but
Doesn't
whomever
surprise me,
is
Spacey.
brought on to do procurement has to work in concert with Mike. So the question really is, should it be a city person, but that's dedicated to the schools, or should it be somebody over here at the schools that
Probably.
works under the direction of the chief procurement officer? So those are the logistical issues that we're trying to work out, but I can assure you it's in the works.
You had another bullet point in here, March 15th was the date. I'm not sure what, something had to be done by March 15th.
Oh, yeah. That was, it was just a suggestion that we set March 15th as a date.
Jody, you're right.
To stop any spending on expired grants. I think that Trish gave you some really good information that that's well underway. And I think I'm certainly confident that her efforts are moving forward in a very responsible way.
Oh my God.
You don't need a motion or anything on that?
I don't think so. I think that the message was clear tonight that we need to make that a priority and that Trish is doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Thank you, Mr. Clarkson. Thank you, Ms. Boyer. Agenda item, subsection C on the report of superintendent is items to refer to subcommittee. Are there any matters to refer to subcommittee at this time?
Yes, Mayor. One, we need to do another policy subcommittee for our laptop restitution policy. The next would be a facilities usage subcommittee regarding the school moves and as you mentioned already, canceling leases. And we also need to do a safety and security subcommittee and transportation.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, if nobody objects, we could pick the dates tonight, book it.
Mhm.
Yeah, safety, traffic, and transportation is one subcommittee.
Mhm.
Yep.
So, do you have a list of our meetings? We have a transportation sub, of April 2nd. Can we add it 6 o'clock?
So that one's all set.
Unless you
April
need it.
Doesn't
2nd.
work for you,
April
right?
2nd is fine.
That doesn't work for Mr. Gold.
It doesn't work.
No.
Okay. What do we have next week? We have a meeting next week?
I thought we were meeting every week, actually.
Yeah,
every
we should be
Tuesday.
having at least one a week. I'll be traveling towards the end of the last week of March, and I'm traveling the end of April. So it's going to be hard for all of us to be able to make these meetings, but if we can do the majority of them.
Yeah.
So do you want to,
Oh,
you
We
want
could
to
probably do 2 in the night.
Yeah, you want to try to do
Yes.
two in one night, two the other night, and get them done next week?
Yep.
Okay. Whatever the will is, what are the dates that you want to propose?
You mean as of next Tuesday, the 12th?
I think we have on the 12th. I have safety, traffic, and transportation at 6 o'clock. We do have one next week.
That's the safety one?
That's the safety one at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So we can probably add another one, a shorter one, maybe a policy.
Policy.
Yes, yes. Policy, what would be the time on March 12th for policy?
Probably do it first. It's a short one.
Policy 6 p.m.
Policy 6 p.m. And then the safety would be 6:30? 6:30, does that work? All right. Lisa, do you know, are we back in the ROM Little Theater next week or no? You don't know. Okay.
This is so fucking bad. This is your public, this is, no one knows
Back here
anything.
next week, okay.
No one knows anything.
That's right, that's right.
The
You'll be there with
19th,
me.
19th, we're back at the Little Theater.
This, no one knows anything. This is
Okay.
leadership at its finest.
Do you want to, so the 12th, and how about we schedule something for the 19th before our regular school committee meeting?
Yep.
They got nothing done tonight.
Dr. Cox, what are the other two needed?
Facilities
is the only one.
usage, right?
Policy and safety security is on the 12th.
Oh my God.
Transportation.
I
is on
feel for the people
2nd
of Brockton.
April.
I really do. I feel for these
Facilities on
kids.
the
I
19th?
feel for the kids and the teachers.
And that would be at 6 p.m. on the 19th?
This is the leadership at the top.
Should be after school.
Yes,
Yep.
we have a regular one at
So-
7.
And then just bear in mind, once we hear from Mr. Plant and his.
Yeah,
team,
they do have phone poaches. Yeah,
yes,
Mike.
you can
One positive thing
email
that
us
came
with
out of
the call
this
special.
whole shenanigans for the
We'll
last
post it and all
3.5
that stuff.
hours, they have
I'm sorry to interrupt.
pouches.
So, Mr. Plant, in negotiating a contract, we will have the opportunity to vote on that for a contract negotiated and.
Yes, yeah, it's been vetted out by law, procurement, Dr. Cobbs. I think, did you send it to Mr. Mello?
There's no
Did it
leadership.
go to
That's
Peter
why,
Mello or
Melissa.
no?
Which one?
The open architects.
It should
I
go to
don't
our
think so.
attorney.
This
Yeah,
guy's the
I thought it did. Sarah, you
has
don't know, do
the
you?
interim
Okay,
superintendent.
we
You
can
don't know
verify that.
nothing.
I thought I saw an email that it was going to Mr. Mello too, so we'll verify that tomorrow.
Mr. Mello.
Yes, sir.
It's not to be on a Tuesday. Can we
Thank
avoid
you.
Monday, Wednesday?
Thanks, Jody.
Because I am unavailable those
Yes.
days. Thank you.
Yes.
Looks like they're all on Tuesdays.
Thursdays.
Need 3 more likes to get to 200. If you could smash that
Okay,
like button
so we
if you
have
haven't
those
already,
dates
I
set.
appreciate it.
So- I knew you were gonna ask me. April 2 is transportation, correct? But then next week, the 12th, at 6 o'clock, there's a policy subcommittee, followed by 6:30 safety and security
Is it bad?
subcommittee. And then on March 19th, 6 p.m. is facilities and usage subcommittee, followed by 7 o'clock regular school committee meeting.
Thanks, Mike.
Any other matters relative to that?
No, how about we
Seeing
talk
none,
about
we'll
the
go on to
violence
Agenda 4, which is
and
consent
security?
agenda. There's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. What is the will of the committee? Mrs. Sullivan?
I'd like to remove letter E.
E.
That's probably the violence. Let's not talk about the
Okay.
violence. That's
Any
E.
other committee members want to remove any? E is the only one to be removed. In terms of the other A, B, C, D, F, G, and H, what is the will of the committee? Would we take those collectively at this time?
To approve items A, B, C, D, F, G, and H.
Form of a motion. Is there a second? It was made by Mr. Sullivan, properly seconded by Mrs. Sullivan. We can just show of hands on that one. Show of hands on that one. Yes, that passes. And I'm just going to read that into the record. A is the approval of January 31, 2024 special school committee meeting minutes. B is the approval of January 16, 2024 regular school committee meeting minutes. C is the approval of January 16, 2024 facilities usage and planning subcommittee meeting minutes. D is the approval of 2023-2024 home education requests. F is request for authorizations to submit it, proposal and expenditures of funds, which is Title III Immigrant Child and Youth Grant in the amount of $63,058. G is request for authorizations to accept proposal and expenditures of funds, math tutoring partnerships with DESE and Carnegie Learning in the amount of
Oh, he wants to run out of there.
$167,400. H is the acceptance of human resources
There was Tyrone
notifications, which is
on Monday.
appointments, certified personnel, appointments, non-certified, and finally, personal actions, which is leaves of absences, resignations, and retirements. Mr. Sullivan, E, please.
Yes, I don't know if anyone's here from West Middle School, any representatives, the band director or the principal, but there's 100 West Middle School band and chorus students that will be attending this trip. So I believe the chaperone is 1 to 10. So it only says there'll be 8 chaperones. I think we need 2 more chaperones. Dr. Cobb, is that correct?
That's within your book. If you go to tab 6, it spells it out. Permission for 100 middle school students, band director, chorus director, and 8 chaperones. So that's 10 people together, 10 adults.
But we do need 10, right?
They have 10.
Oh.
No one should be going anywhere. We should be fixing the violence.
Oh, okay, I didn't notice that, sorry.
Band
Thank
director,
you.
chorus director.
We're sending
and 8
people out on
All right, I did read it, but I didn't.
I don't know
Thank
what the
you for
hell.
looking at
What
the
do you
numbers.
do? You go out on
Motion to
things and they have
Motion
chaperones.
to approve letter
We need
E,
to fix the
out-of-state
violence.
field trip,
Let's
West
send people out on
Middle
field
School
trips.
to Salem, New Hampshire.
Holy fuck! These people are
And
so
that's
tone
dated,
deaf.
June 7th, 2024. There was a motion made by
There's no
Mr. Sullivan,
timeline,
it was
Mike.
duly seconded. I'm going to give it to Ms. Oliver, but Mr. Gomes was right there. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. That does pass unanimously.
Yeah. Run out of
Now
there.
we have 5 unfinished business discussion and potential vote from the policy subcommittee meeting, March 5, 2024, which happened tonight, right before this meeting.
Oh, okay.
What is the will of the committee at this time?
Let's talk about the violence.
Well, first of all, we had the policy subcommittee earlier, went through our
Field
original
trips,
drafts,
not violence.
additional drafts. Again, I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Connors for all of her help in putting together the feedback from all the faculty, which is extremely important so that they have a voice. So we have a final version of it. I'd like motion to approve the final version of the cell phone policy so that Principal McCaskill can now use this and work with his leadership team.
Form of a motion. Is there a second on that motion? Motion was made by Mrs. Ayers, properly seconded by Mrs. Sullivan. I'll just do a roll. Mrs. Sullivan? Mrs. Ayers?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes? Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes, it passes unanimously. Thank you for that. Now we're coming up to election of vice chair. And as we've done in
Think
the
about
past,
that.
I'm going to entertain nominations to put a name or names on the ballot. Is there a
All right.
nomination at this
Put
time?
some more people on the payroll.
Nomination to vote for Tony Rodriguez for vice chair.
So motion, is there a second on that?
Second.
Mr. Rodriguez's name is on the ballot. Are there any other nominations at this time? Seeing none, I'm going to close nominations. Now we will go around to vote on the nomination. Mr. Sullivan?
Abstain.
Ms. Ayers?
Tony Rodriguez.
Mr. Gomes?
Tony Rodriguez.
Ms. Oliver?
Tony Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Tony Rodriguez.
It's fun to vote for yourself. Ms. Azak?
Tony
Mr.
Rodriguez.
Sullivan?
Tony Rodriguez.
And I vote for Tony Rodriguez.
$100,000.
Congratulations, Vice Chair. So Mr. Rodriguez has been elected. He will be Vice Chair for the year 2024. We look forward to working with you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you very much. Would you like to say anything at this time?
I never thought I would be sitting in this seat, being a product of Brockton Public Schools. I've seen the failures when I was as an adult where they failed me as a child. Some of my friends, some of my kids that I grew up with came and spoke today. A lot of people that's been reaching out. I know it wasn't a power struggle. Some people might look at it that we wasn't getting work done. We all conversate every day. It's a happy moment for me.
You're failing them, bro.
Because of how I grew up, right across the street, Chester Ave, Butler Street, Eggers Park. And then my parents brought us over to the west side. Not that I was in Easton. But we have a lot of work to do. And it's going to be my job making sure that we all work together. We disagree.
What?
I know
No
a lot
one
of
works
people say
together now.
Things about Joyce, but me and her, we fight every day.
Well, that's the problem.
We're going to work together and
No communication.
we're going to make sure that we get this black cloud out over our heads and making sure that BPS is properly funded.
I agree,
and making
Melissa.
Sure that we make Brockton number one again.
They're gonna run out of here. I'm
That's what
telling
we
you,
need to
right
do.
after this. Unbelievable.
Again, on January 1st, when we got sworn in, I talked about collaboration, and then Tony, Mr. Vice Chair, said the same thing. It's about collaboration, and we will continue to do that. So again, congratulations, Mr. Vice Chair. We will now go on to Agenda 6, new business. Is there any new business by the membership at this time? Any new business? I actually have one. I'm going to humbly ask, and I've done this in the past, I would like us to have a standing agenda item on every school committee meeting relative to school safety update. And that could be a myriad of things. It could be Brenda Perez in her capacity as chief, could be Kevin McCaskill in his capacity as principal, could be the SROs, it could be Dr. Cobbs in his capacity. It could be people from DESE because they're paying for that school safety audit. So if nobody objects, I'd like going forward to put a school safety update on the agenda. Is there a formal motion on that, please? Someone make the motion. Ms. Azak.
To add updates on school safety on our weekly agenda, or regular school committee agenda.
Okay, that's the formal motion. Is there a second? Second. It was made by Ms. Azak, properly seconded by Ms. Sullivan. All in favor, kindly raise your hand.
Yeah.
All
Gonna
opposed,
run
raise your
out of
hands.
here. It's
Thank
9
you. We'll
o'clock.
go that. That's going to be on there going forward.
Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I probably should have gone on to unfinished business.
We can talk about the
Ev-
violence?
Everything's been fine so far. And I don't want to upset everybody, but where are we with safety at the high school?
Yeah. It took 2 hours to get to
hired
this.
Personnel, I know there was a job ad. Where are we? And I know I've gotten a ton of emails from people offering their services, but it's a business and they want to get paid. And we don't have
2
the money.
hours,
But,
almost
I
4
mean, every
hours
day
into
we have
this.
email after email. If that gentleman's willing to work for free and they're able to work something out with us until we can hire personnel. I mean, I know there's query checks. I know there's agreements. It sounds easier sometimes than it really is because
Oh, he's gonna say nothing.
where are we? Because I don't want to keep seeing, we do have positive at the high school. We do. We have an amazing, amazing high school. We have amazing students and we have, our students should be making the news for
She
all the
literally
positive
said at the
stuff that
beginning of
we
this,
have.
I don't want to
And
ruffle any feathers.
Sadly, I'll put this under announcements, but the letter that was sent to the governor was not a stunt. We heard our teachers, we heard our students, and I don't know about you guys, but there's many sleepless nights. You know, it's every day, all day. My full-time job has been on hold. I've been doing the best that I can. This is not easy for all of us. It really isn't. You know, these are lives that we're in charge of. And I want to just see what can we do? We hear them week after week. I've gone there and I stood. I know years ago I asked if we could have volunteers. And I know we ran into an issue with the unions. So can we get volunteers, or would it be an issue if, you know, with the unions, if we had volunteers just come in? I stood there for 3 hours until I got called out, but I stood there for 3 hours and I saw our school is amazing. And I know the camera's right there. Brockton High School is amazing. We have so many positive things. And this is what you guys really need to report on. That letter was not to be negative, and that letter should have never gone
What
to
about
the
the
media.
letter, lady? It's
Shame on
about
the person
Monday
that sent that to the
getting shit
media.
kicked out of him.
That letter should have never gone to the media within 24 hours. We didn't have the opportunity to speak to the governor. We asked for a meeting with the governor, and we get it. We understand, but we just wanted to sit down and see what resources we had, what resources are out there. And you know what? That negative letter that some people think is negative, I'm sorry, guys. New Mexico, read up on it. New Mexico, they went in and they were helping the schools. Massachusetts, they were driving the buses in Massachusetts during COVID. It's not a negative. It's a negative when a lot of people make it a negative. And I'm sure my emails and my phone's going to keep blowing up. My stress level has been high, guys, but I want to be able to put my head on the pillow at night and know that I'm doing what I can do like the rest of the committee. I don't want to put you on the spot, but we really need, can we see about getting volunteers, and how would that happen with the unions?
He's going to say
I
nothing.
know there's a lot of parents that would volunteer, but we also run into, what if something happens to them? We're responsible. You know, so that's liability wise. You can't just have people wandering. And that's another thing. I know a lot of people want to go up to the school. We have a policy. You just can't walk into the school. Our principal is there overseeing the school. We get it. Everyone wants to walk in. We have a policy. You really should make an appointment. And if you don't have a query check, you should not be walking around our schools unannounced. So I'm sorry, we can't. So yeah, they have to be queried, things like that for safety of our students. So I didn't mean to go on and on, but it's been building up.
Not apologizing.
And social media, I had to shut down. I had to shut down on the social media. Brockton High's it's an amazing school, guys. Let's show the positive. And like a lot of schools all over the country are going through what we're going through. Sadly, our letter went to the media and it was twisted negative. So you got CNN, Inside Edition, every news, New York Post, you name them. They're emailing us and they're calling us. I haven't talked to them because you know what? It's about keeping our students and our staff safe, and it's going on in all the schools. It's not just Brockton.
I don't get it.
It's going on in a lot of schools all over the country.
She calls out for the National Guard, and then she's
look
saying
into
that they're twisting it,
volunteers
make
and
it
how
look
would
like
that
it's
maybe
so
have them
evil.
sign like some kind of a disclaimer as far as liability? I have no problem dedicating one day a week, a few hours. It's only a certain amount of hours, just until we can fill those positions.
The mayor's going to poo-poo with
To
this, I'm
show our
telling you.
staff we're listening to them. Actually, the students are reaching out to us too. The students are reaching out, and I just can't have meeting after meeting. I don't mean to be difficult. We
Stop
just can't have meeting after
apologizing.
meeting. And those that said, why didn't we do anything in November? Well, we were waiting, and then holidays hit, and then we were waiting. Here we are. So week after week, we have to do something.
The mayor has no
we have
answer.
to do something.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Is this on? Just to echo what Mrs. Azak said, we were working on that letter for weeks. I'm glad that the communities got together and did what they did. It needed to be a spotlight. That letter wasn't meant for the media. If that was the case, we would have emailed them. It was only elected officials, and one elected official took it upon himself and sent it to the media because he's the one that made this a charade. This wasn't something to be a charade. Our job is not to shed, it doesn't mean to shine negative light on the city. Our job is to show positive light in the city. I'll put a motion on the floor to authorize Dr. Cobbs to engage with community members and volunteers.
See, the community's
vetted out
mad
to
at
come
them.
into our schools and volunteers and making
The-
sure we
literally,
support
the
our
people in
teachers
the
and our
room are
students.
mad at these
That
people.
was a form of a motion by the Vice Chair.
Standing up.
Second.
This is-
I beat you, Mr. Go.
So there was, I'm going to give it to Mr. Gomes. I was looking that way. There was a second by Mr. Gomes, but on the motion, Mr. Sullivan, you had a question.
What is it to do?
Mr. Vice Chair, if you could just clarify for the school committee.
Motion to approve Dr. Cobbs to get into an agreement and talks with community engagement groups and volunteers to come into our schools and help volunteer to support our teachers and our students.
But they would have to be queried and fingerprinted if they're going to our schools.
Yep. Yep.
What specifically are they volunteering to do?
think we could have mentors. That was one of the biggest things that I advocated for. We need those in our schools.
So there is a motion on the floor. On the motion, Mr. Gooding came here tonight. I know Jamal Gooding. My office did reach out to Jamal as early as today as well. Stephanie in my office. So we will be meeting with him. But there's a motion on the floor. It was properly seconded by Mr. Gomes. All in favor, and I'll do a roll call. Mr. Sullivan?
So it is to,
It's to direct the superintendent.
But I think we should.
Look at his body language. You think that's
No, of course we
superintendent's
will,
engaged?
but we're directing
You think
him.
he cares?
As a school committee.
Okay.
Okay, the answer is yes. Mrs. Ehlers?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Absolutely.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well, and we should make that effective tomorrow, right? So, just point of information, I want to clarify. So the school safety update that's going on the agenda going forward, that's not just Brockton High. That's going to be our middle schools, elementary schools as well. So I just want everybody to be aware of that as well.
Nothing's gonna get done.
So
This
we'll
will
go to
get kicked
agenda
on the road.
7, announcements. Is there any announcements at this time? Seeing none, we got to go into executive session, and I need to read the following. Agenda 8, executive session, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions and preparations for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, all non-union individual contracts. Is there a motion to go in executive session at this time?
Motion to go into executive session.
Motion was made by
Second.
Mrs. Azak, is seconded by Mr. Sullivan. I need to call a roll call relative to the executive session. Mrs. Sullivan?
yes.
Mrs. Ehlers?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes. We are going into
We're all
executive
running out
session.
of
We are
there.
not coming back into open session. Thank you.
Bye. See ya. Yeah. Run out of there. Yeah, this is what they didn't want to address. Let me just pull this up really quick. So right here, school committee meeting after latest violent incident at Brockton High School. It says from Boston 10 here, the school committee will be a meeting on Tuesday night, hoping once again to find solution to the unsettling trend. Let's go here back to this live spot.
For the very same issue.
I mean, a staff member injured after trying to break up a fight. And now the question is what needs to be done in response? It's expected to be discussed tonight.
All right, let's get right to NBC 10's Minash Kouvari live in Brockton. Minash, what do we know about what happened in the halls of Brockton High School?
Well, what we know is that it's the latest incident in a string of violence that's been happening here at Brockton High. In fact, at one point, school committee members requesting that the National Guard be placed in the halls. Well, last week, Governor Maura Healey nixed that proposal. This week, another fight. Take a look. This was yesterday. 2 young women exchanging blows in the hallway. As you mentioned, an employee stepping
these
in
are
to try and break
brawls,
it up,
bro.
but instead getting hurt. They were evaluated by a
Everybody's
school
taping.
nurse and then sent home. The 2 young women will be disciplined according to school policy.
Like, I'm just trying to get through the school day and people are just in the way, distracting me and doing stuff and acting crazy. You never know what can happen.
My son is in there and I feel uncomfortable. There's a lot of issues in the school and
You're welcome,
it's really
Chad.
bad.
I'm going to keep covering it.
Now, it should be noted, you just heard from a student there. That student going on to tell our reporter that that fight we just showed you wasn't even the only fight of the day. In any event, the school committee will be meeting later on this evening to once again try and find a solution to this unsettling
Solutions.
trend.
We got to find
But right
solutions.
now, though, we're live here in Brockton. Minash Kouvari, NBC 10 Boston.
All right, that's it. All right, you fine folks. I want to thank all the Twitter peeps over there. 273 of you all watching me tonight on the Twitter. Thank you so much. I think that's my biggest, largest Twitter audience so far. And if you haven't come over to the home base here on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. We do a multitude of stories here in the Massachusetts area, along with a lot of national stories. We focus in on true crime and trying to help communities get their shit straight. I will keep covering the story. I will keep covering the story. I will keep tweeting at the mayor. I will keep tweeting at the governor. If you are disgusted with the situation in Brockton and you're on X, I still call it Twitter, you can tweet at the Brockton mayor, at Bob Sullivan, MA. Let him know your displeasure. Let him know things need to change in Brockton, and it needs to change fast. That community is hurting and needs to be healed. So listen, I appreciate everybody tonight for checking out LTL. 4-hour banger tonight. Super, super long show. Thank you all for being here. I'm sure there's a multitude of shows on right now. Go check them out. I will be back here live on Thursday. I will not be here tomorrow night on my regular night. I'm bumping that over to Thursday. I'll be live with Sean from the Gulf. You're not going to want to miss that stream. And we're going to talk the Karen Reed case. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for checking in tonight. Everybody have an awesome night. Go check out all your other streams that are going on. And I'll talk to you all soon. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
True crime, we going deep in the dark. Yeah, peeling back the layers, exposed the hidden in mark. Yeah, from the streets to the alleys where the secrets lie. Getting into minds of the wicked, no alibi. It's true crime, unraveling the web of evil. No stone left unturned. We dive into the crime. Yeah, we digging up the dirt, bringing justice to the crime. LTL true crime, unveiling dark realities of the crime. Unraveling the web of evil, no stone left unturned.